Chapter 396. But Vice Director G. A.I. Wei was clearly defeated by his incomparably handsome face. In the end, she said with a sigh, Vice Director G has found many people in the company over the years, but not a single one can match you. Why haven't you given up yet? The revolution hasn't succeeded yet. Of course, I can't give up. He reached out his hand and waved at Luo Qingqian's group as he said, You must be the new interns. Yes. Su Liang nodded, replying as a representative. After all, he was the only male out of the 3 interns, so he couldn't let the girls take the lead. I have a few math problems here. I want everyone to have some fun while working. You'll get a bonus of 500 yuan for each correct answer. Ji Chan said to the assistant behind him, Xiao Dong, bring the blackboard over. Luo Qingqian leaned back and asked the old employee in a soft voice with a confused look, I still don't understand. There's nothing wrong with doing math problems, and there's a bonus, so why not do it? It's precisely because of the bonus that many employees are working hard for this money. However, Vice President G is a math genius. In this world, only CEO Yi can solve his questions. The others can't do it even if they break their heads. Hearing the words Director Yi, Luo Qingqian could clearly feel her heart skip a beat. It was as if a big drum was beating on her heart again and again. But with the old employee's reasonable analysis, she understood why A.I. Wei was so afraid of Ji Chun. This was because there were some employees who spent a lot of time calculating for this 500 yuan. Not only would it lower their performance, they might even be fired. Then this means that there should be people in the design department who are fired or resigned because of Vice Director G, right? Luo Qingqian leaned back as her brows slightly knit. As far as I know, there are 3. Understood. Luo Qingqian nodded to show that she understood everything. What? No one wants to challenge it. Since no one stood up, Ji Chin's deep and beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of disappointment. It was all Yi Jin's fault. He seemed very busy recently and didn't have time to study math with him. So when he came to the design department from the planning department, no one was willing to accompany him. Those girls' eyes sparkled when they saw him, but they were scared when they saw his mathematics. Was it that hard to find someone who liked mathematics? If she didn't understand, he could teach her. Moreover, it was open to both men and women. Vice President G, the new employee hasn't been here for long, and there are many things that she's not used to. A.I. Wei explained respectfully. Or should we wait for a while before helping Vice President G find a soulmate? No. Ji Chan was a bit annoyed, so he pretended to be angry as he said, I ran a total of 7 floors today, and not a single person stood out. None of you have seriously looked at the questions, so how do you know that you don't know how to answer them? I don't care, Evie. Someone from the design department has to come out and do the questions today. It doesn't matter if they get it wrong. Ji Chun looked very persistent. It should be that as a handsome vice director, being rejected by the people below him, he would feel a bit uncomfortable in his heart. That Vice President G, let me answer. Luo Qingqian slapped Su Liang's raised hand down and stood up to speak to Ji Chun. Chapter 397. Coco, what is your name? Does Vice Director G really care about my name that much? Luo Qingqian came forward and spread her hand as she looked at him. It's not too late to tell after you finish answering. Actually, she stood up because as one of the 3 interns, there was no reason to let a man take responsibility. On the other hand, she felt that this was a chance to see Yi Jin alone. In a situation where there was no coincidence, she would create a coincidence. Xiao Dong, give her the chalk. Ji Chin's eyes flashed with a trace of Liguang, as he spoke with a bit of excitement. Luo Qingqian took the chalk and looked at the blackboard. There were a total of 3 questions, and the first one was closely related to the last one. If one wasn't a person with high math skills, they wouldn't be able to answer them at all. Even if one could answer the first question, because the second question was missing a requirement, they wouldn't be able to answer it. For Luo Qingqian, these questions were the same as 1 + 1 equaling something. She picked up the chalk and wrote down all the answers without pausing. In less than 5 seconds. 5 seconds later, the scene was silent. This silence almost made her feel like she had used space and time freeze. A.I. Wei awkwardly looked at Luo Qingqian and said, It can't be that you randomly wrote it, right? Ji Chen's math skills were something that all the old employees in the company could see. The questions he wrote definitely weren't simple. But how could Luo Qingchen write them as easily as a first-grade math problem? She just revealed a faint smile as she looked at Ji Chun beside her and said, "Whether it's randomly written or not, I think Vice Director Ji should know better than anyone." It was like Ji Chun had been struck by lightning as he was frozen in place. There was a look of disbelief in his eyes, just like the shock he had when he met Yi Jin in Cambridge. No, he was even more shocked than back then. Incredibly shocked. Back then, Yi Jin had written down the entire process and the answers he obtained. But this girl in front of him had directly written down the answers. Moreover, there wasn't a single mistake. That, ha ha, ha ha ha. Ji Chen couldn't hold back his excitement as he looked at Luo Qingchen and said, "What is this young miss called?" Luo Qingchen thought for a moment, pursed her lips, and smiled. "You can call me Qing. Little Blue." "Oh no, it's a good name." Ji Chen looked at her with a deep smile and said, "Color is inextricably linked to mathematics." Ahem. Luo Qingchen cleared her throat and looked at him with an awkward smile. Qing, as in peerless beauty. "Oh, Qing." He looked into her eyes with a bit of panic, but his eyes were filled with admiration. He reached out his hand and said, "Hello, I am Ji Chun." "Hello." Luo Qingchen continued to respond awkwardly. "This, I know." After that, he turned to look at Ivy and said, "This intern of yours, can you give her to me?" Ivy looked at Luo Qingchen before looking at Ji Chun and saying, "But if she studies design and is transferred to your place, what position will she take?" "Assistant." Ji Chun didn't even think as he said this. "Hum." Xiao Dong, holding the blackboard behind him, was so scared that the blackboard fell to the ground. He quickly said to Ji Chun, "Vice Director, you want to fire me?" Chapter 398. It had to be admitted, when Ji Chun said those 3 words, Luo Qingchen's eyes turned red in that instant. It wasn't that some emotions couldn't be said, but rather they kept taking root in their hearts. Since then, Luo Qingchen officially became Ji Chen's assistant. Of course, she also found out many things. For example, the girl she saw at Dream One High School liked Yi Jin very much. Moreover, her father was a professor at Cambridge, Yi Jin's teacher before. So they are boyfriend and girlfriend? Luo Qingchen sat on the sofa in Ji Chen's office and took a sip of coffee, pretending to be casual as she asked this. Yi Jin. Ji Chan was silent for a bit before muttering, "He should like men." Pooh. After that, Luo Qingchen spat out the coffee in her mouth. "WTF? What is this?" You don't need to be this surprised." Ji Chun quickly pulled out a few tissues for her and said, "I'm not too clear on his past. He should have been hurt by something. I always feel that he's quite indifferent to girls." "Is it the same for Su Lan?" Luo Qingchen looked up with an expectant look in her eyes. Su Lan. That was the name of the Cambridge professor's daughter. She just hoped that she could hear the answer she wanted to hear from Ji Chen's mouth. "What kind of relationship do you have with Director Yi?" Ji Chen looked at her like he suddenly realized something. "It can't be that." "No, I'm not." Luo Qingchen sat back in fear and moved away from Ji Chen, as she said in a panic, "I don't know him." "I didn't say that you knew him," Ji Chen said in a daze. "I just wanted to say that you wouldn't be his little fan, right? But there's nothing wrong with that. 80% of the girls in the company are his fans, and there are even people who come to work at Crown because of him. That there are even people who wouldn't be talking about her, right?" Is that so?" Luo Qingchen said with a faint smile. "That's quite amazing. If you want to see him, I can take you there." Ji Chen looked at Luo Qingchen and said, "I also want him to see what a true math genius is." Cough, cough. She glanced at the clock on the wall and said, "If there's a chance. Vice President Ji, I'm off work now. See you tomorrow." "Oh, be careful on the road." Ji Chen slightly raised his brows and said, "Do you want me to send you back to the dorm?" "No need, no need." With that, she immediately got up and walked towards the door. She only heaved a sigh of relief when she walked out of the company. It turned out that when you liked someone, you would be filled with nervousness when you were ignorant. You want to get close, but you don't dare to. You want to talk, but you don't dare to. You only realized it when you missed it. If you had been braver that year, perhaps your ending would have been different. At the basketball arena, Ji-chun dribbled the ball while saying to Yi-ji-jin beside him, I recently took in a new assistant. She is simply a math genius. I've heard you say this no less than several dozen times over the years. Yi-ji-jin grabbed the ball with a feint and shot a beautiful three-pointer. Then he continued, but after a few days after you say this, you'll say that you made a mistake and that she only has a bit of ability. Zee. Ji-chun casually sat down on the side and watched Yi-ji-jin shoot three-pointers one after the other as he explained, it's different this time, don't you know? She doesn't need to write the process for all the questions. She could just write the answers. Chapter 399. In that instant, his heart that had been as calm as water for 7 years had its first ripple. This was a ripple that only he knew about. The memories of the past flashed in front of his eyes like a movie. He still couldn't forget the moment she turned around after writing down the answer on the podium. That smile, it was like his eyes were glowing. AI, what's wrong with the three-point god today? You're not in the right state. Ji-chun took the basketball from his hand and swung it a few times, making a handsome jump. However, the ball didn't enter the basket. It's nothing. I hope that you won't come looking for me in 2 days to say that you made a mistake. Yi-ji-jin looked at his watch and picked up his coat. Let's go back. This early, Ji-chun knit his brows in confusion. What? Is there a date with a beauty? Ethan said that he wants to check on the company's anniversary banquet. Yi-ji-jin said in a soft voice, do you want to come? I'm not going. Ji-chun desperately shook his head. Thinking about it, you have to have a beautiful person. Don't force others to have something you don't even have. Yi-ji-jin's lips curled into a faint smile. There was nothing to say about Ji-chun's character. Although he was a rich second generation, he didn't have the arrogance of a rich second generation. He had met him when he was studying in America, and he had half a crown shares in it. He normally had nothing to do, but when it came to large-scale business bids, he could always make the most accurate calculations and come up with the best plan for the company. It had to be said, he was indeed a math genius. Only when it came to girls, he didn't seem to care that much. I do. I'm someone who has a little assistant now. Ji-chun proudly raised his brows and said, don't steal from me. Everything has to be first come, first served. Relax, I'm not as bored as you. He revealed a faint smile and waved his hand before walking towards the entrance of the basketball court. Ji-chun gave a shrug and didn't forget to give a shrug as he watched him leave, boring on the inside. The next morning, Luo Qingchun saw Su Lan in Ji-chun's office when she arrived at the company. Her expression didn't look good, but Ji-chun was too lazy to care about her. He sat in front of the computer and quickly played with the Rubik's Cube in his hand. Until the moment Luo Qingchun came in, his face revealed a smile as if a savior had arrived. Qing, you're finally here. Have you had breakfast? I'll take you to eat. Ji-chun unconsciously jumped up from the sofa and headed in Luo Qingchun's direction. Breakfast, but I ate. You can eat after you've eaten. Eating can help your brain work faster, and your math ability will be stronger. After saying that, he picked up his coat and walked forward quickly. Ji-chun, I'm asking you, are you? Su Lan suddenly turned around. The moment she saw Luo Qingchun, her face froze. She was wearing a goose-yellow sweater, and her hair was slightly curled, with her cute bangs blowing in the air. Her skin was fair, and her eyes were clear. She looked like a 17 or 18-year-old girl, pure and charming. What surprised her was that the girl in front of her looked very similar to the girl in the pink coat she had accidentally seen in Yi-ji-jin's wallet. She knew at that time that there was someone in Yi-ji-jin's heart. Even if he never mentioned it, she knew that this person was very important to him. You? Su Lan's lips slightly parted as she said, no. Impossible. AI. Ji-chun saw Su Lan staring right at Luo Qingchun and quickly said, I really don't know where Yi-ji-jin went. He said that he was going to find Ethan to discuss the banquet. Ding-ling. A cell phone rang and cut off Ji-chun's words. Chapter 400. Hey, Yi-ji-jin, your family's suit. There's a large-scale international mathematics conference at the Falling Star building. Last time you said you didn't have a spot, so I asked for 2 tickets. Do you want to come? Yi-ji-jin cut him off and got to the main point. Yes. Can I get an extra ticket? Ji-Chen looked at Luo Qingchen beside him and said into the phone, "I want to bring my little assistant with me." Luo Qingchen heard this, and her breathing stopped. Her heart unknowingly began to beat faster. "No," Yi Jin softly said. "I won't go. I still have something to do later. You can go with your assistant. I'll wait for you at the other shore coffee shop." Without knowing why, when he heard the words little assistant, he slightly knit his brows. He couldn't help thinking of what Ji-Chan said yesterday. Do you know? She didn't need to write the process for all her questions. She could just write the answers. "Whoa, I knew you were good to me," Ji-Chan said with a happy smile. "Relax, Su-Lan is looking for you, so I'll bring her along. Otherwise, you'll be lonely without me." No, Yi Jin didn't say anything before Ji-Chen hung up. Sitting in Ji-Chen's luxurious Benz, the car was completely silent, until Su-Lan's voice slowly spoke, breaking the silence. "You seem quite young. Did you just graduate?" Su-Lan looked at Luo Qingchen and asked in a probing voice. Luo Qingchen looked out the window and casually said, "Graduated many years ago." She remembered the summer of that year, the faint scent of the camphor tree in the air. She stood at the intersection, watching time go back. In a flash, many years had passed. Then, "Did you study in this city before?" Su-Lan's eyes had a bit of panic as she kept asking. "Oh, that's right," she softly replied. Then, Su-Lan. She wanted to ask something, but Ji-Chan cut her off with a smile. "Why do you have so many questions today? It's not like your usual arrogant young miss style." Is that so?" She lowered her head slightly and stopped talking. She only felt her palms slightly sweating. Her heart unknowingly became flustered, and her fingertips trembled slightly. She selfishly hoped that the girl would never appear again in her life. Su-Lan had liked Yi Jin for an entire 7 years. This was also the most insistent thing that a proud young lady like her had ever done in her life. But she knew that she had not walked into his heart. She wasn't afraid of hearing him reject her again and again. She was only afraid of seeing him standing in front of the tall building's floor-to-ceiling window in the dead of night, lonely and desolate. She had purposely gone to dream one high school's anniversary celebration that day. When this girl called Bei Xiaoshi told her that she had forgotten, she could clearly feel the panic in his eyes. That fear, that unwillingness to listen. Half an hour later, at the entrance of the Falling Star building, Ji-Chen looked at his watch and walked forward while saying, "Ji-Jin is waiting for us at the other shore cafe. Let's go. Let's go. I already can't wait to show off at the conference." Luo Qingchen was a bit surprised, feeling like there was 1,000 pounds under her feet. It was just a flick of a finger for her, but it had already been 7 years for that youth. It was hard to imagine what kind of mood a person would have after their most important person disappeared. It should be filled with despair. There was a wind chime at the entrance of the cafe. When the breeze blew, it would ring. Chapter 4:01. There was a rich coffee fragrance in the air that was sweet and fragrant. Luo Qingchen knew in an instant that he wasn't here. Because his appearance and figure had been deeply engraved in her mind, it was that clear. "Hello, are you Mr. Ji-Chun?" The manager of the Other Shore Coffee House came forward and politely asked. "How did you know?" Ji-Chun pretended to be proud as he adjusted his bow tie. "Could it be that you have a crush on Cuckoo?" The manager's face turned red as he cut him off. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ji. It was Director Yi who had me wait here for your arrival." "Director Yi?" Ji-Chun said with a shrug. "He even opened a coffee house behind my back." "Yes." She took out 2 tickets and said, "Director Yi had me give these to you. He had something to do." "Got it. Help me pack up 2 cups of strawberry au lait." Ji-Chun took the tickets and said to Su-Lan beside him, "You can order what you want to drink. Blue Mountain coffee. Hello. That's a total of 78 yuan. You still need money?" Ji-Chun looked in his pocket and found that he didn't bring his wallet. He cleared his throat and said, "Put on Director Ye's tab." "I'm sorry, Mr. Ji." The manager said in an awkward voice, "We don't accept credit here." Ji-Chen knit his brows as he looked at Su-Lan. Su-Lan quickly shook his head and said, "I didn't bring my bag." I have it. Luo Qingchen looked at the 2 young masters and couldn't help revealing an awkward smile. She took out 100 yuan from her wallet and said, "Here." But she didn't know that at that moment, the rainbow bracelet in her hand had fallen off her wrist. Having a little assistant really is considerate. Ji-chun patted Luo Qingchen's shoulder with a smile as a bit of Li Guang flashed in his eyes. 5 minutes later, the manager handed them 2 cups of drinks and said, "We welcome you next time." "I'm not coming." Ji-chun deliberately gave a soft snort and pushed Luo Qingchen's back. He walked forward while saying to Sulan behind him, "Just wait for Yi Jin here, although I don't know if he will come back." The moment she walked out of the coffee shop, Luo Qingchen felt a faint sense of loss. In the end, he still didn't see it. She nodded slightly and listened to the sound of the wind chime at the door ringing again. A faint sadness flashed through her eyes. Disappointment was a sudden rain from the sky, drenching the memories hanging by the roadside. Memories of the past settled in the years of yesterday, confused in today's reality. At the venue of the large-scale International Mathematics Symposium, almost everyone here was the best mathematics elite in the country, and the word pride was written all over their faces. He was proud of how different he was from others. Luo Qingchen met Ji Chen's greatest opponent, Li Shang. He was also the champion of the genius competition set up by the last large-scale International Mathematics Exchange Conference. Every year, there would be a competition. One-on-one would be randomly selected to go on stage, and the loser would step down. Everyone only had one chance to go up on the stage. The person who stood on the stage in the end would be the winner. "AI loser, we meet again." Li Shang gave a cold snort as he looked at him with a taunting smile. "I never thought that you would be able to get a ticket." As early as a month ago, he had used illegal means to rob all the tickets for this seminar. Then he sold them to others on the internet, using his real name. He never thought that Ji-chan would still be able to get a ticket. Chapter 402. You really won't give up until you reach the Yellow River. Li Shang gave a shrug. He looked at him with a look of disdain as he said, "No wonder Ning Xiu chose me in the end and not a waste like you." Li Shang. Ji-chun grabbed his collar as his eyes filled with rage. "Don't fight." Luo Qingchen quickly pulled him back. She knit her brows as she looked at Li Shang and said, "The competition hasn't started yet. No one knows the result. You're showing off now, but don't be slapped in the face later." Luo Qingchen could tell from their simple conversation that there was a conflict between the two of them. "Unwomen." "Ha ha." Li Shang patted his suit and gave a cold snort. He looked at Luo Qingchen before looking at Ji-chun and saying, "All right, now you're starting to harm underage girls. Based on your appearance, you should be someone from Ji-chen's uncle's generation. 35. You look like you're 40. You." Li Shang's mind was very sharp, so naturally he could hear the hidden meaning in Luo Qingchen's words. He bit his lip and said, "Open your eyes. Big brother is only 25. Z. Luo Qingchen deliberately looked him over before shaking her head and saying, "You really don't look like it. You AI." She cut him off before he could say anything. Her eyes turned cold as she said, "You're already old and you're blaming others for being young. You really don't have any grace. Of course, you're saying I'm an underage girl when I'm over 20. It's either you're too old and your eyes aren't good enough. So if you want," she paused before continuing, "I'm too good looking." As soon as her voice fell, she didn't look at Li Shang's expression at all. She dragged the stunned Ji-chun to an empty seat in the front row. After sitting down, she said with a faint smile, "How about it? Wasn't I handsome just now? You were all right?" Ji-chun looked at her with a look of surprise. "Didn't you see Li Shang's face turn red from anger? You normally act like a yes man, but I never thought that you would be this strong when it came to fighting people." The corners of Luo Qingchen's mouth lifted slightly. She laughed softly and gossiped. "So Ning Xiu is kuku." Ji-chun scratched the back of his head and said with an awkward look, "XO." Luo Qingchen looked at his annoyed and angry face and couldn't help but smile. "I know, I can hear it. Ning Xiu is my childhood sweetheart." After a while, Ji-chun took a sip of the strawberry Oulé and leaned back in his chair. There was a trace of time in his eyes as he slowly said, "I didn't know what love was back then, but Ning Xiu was always by my side. I felt that Ning Xiu should be mine and would always be mine." When he said the words childhood sweetheart, Luo Qingqian's eyebrows trembled slightly. It was as if yesterday's memories that had been frozen in the depths of her heart had been opened in an instant. Luo Qingqian didn't speak. She picked up the drink in the bag, took a sip, and listened quietly. Then, there was a national math competition. I brought Ning Qiu there and we met Li Sheng. You lost? No, I won the competition. Ji Chan said with a helpless smile, but I lost to her. And then? Luo Qingqian blinked in a daze. She looked like she wanted to hear the rest of the story. And then? Ji Chan revealed a casual smile. He narrowed his eyes and said, then Ning Qiu ran away with him. Chapter 4:03. Luo Qingqian didn't keep asking as the host walked onto the stage to begin this year's International Math Conference. In the beginning, there were all kinds of introductions and bragging. When the genius competition began, it aroused everyone's interest. There was a label attached to each person's ticket that had a number written on it. The host pressed the number display on the stage, and whichever number appeared would go onto the stage. The questions didn't have any limitations. Whether it was a sequence or a function, as long as it was a math question, there was a chance. This was a test of everyone's math skills. Coincidentally, the first person to be picked was Ji Chun. I'll be the first person to eat crabs. He revealed a relaxed smile. He didn't forget to remind Luo Qingqian beside him before walking off. Don't go on stage when it's your turn. I can't abuse you. Ji Chen's smile was very warm. It felt like, as long as he revealed a faint smile, the world would light up. Luo Qingqian knew that he wasn't afraid of her abuse. Rather, he was afraid of Li Sheng abusing her. The first person to come up is last year's runner-up. Does everyone suddenly feel a great pressure? The host was still bragging as he bravely walked forward. The questions were random, and there were 2 electronic versions. Whoever wrote the answer first would win. The questions rolled very quickly, and the 2 people on stage wrote their answers in less than 5 seconds, passing at the same time. It had to be said, Ji Chen really was powerful. Facing all kinds of strange opponents, he didn't lose. Until Li Sheng came on stage. Ji Chen's expression was very casual, but Li Sheng was different. Luo Qingqian could clearly see the flames burning in Li Sheng's eyes. This was a flame that he had to succeed. The battle between the strong begins now. The host excitedly said as the electronic screen on stage flashed with a question. To be honest, although she didn't like Li Sheng, he was indeed a math genius. But compared to him, Ji Chun was even better. The people with discerning eyes under the stage could see that Ji Chun had written the solution faster than Li Sheng and calculated the answer. Although Li Sheng could catch up in less than 5 seconds. But the further they went, the bigger Ji Chen's advantage became. Li Sheng frowned and deliberately said, back then, Ning Qiu left you not because she fell in love with me. It's because she spoiled my child. Yes, I knocked her up while she was drunk. Li Sheng's voice was very soft, but he knew that Ji Chun standing beside him heard it. He had written half of the answer on the electronic screen, but he knew that he couldn't write anymore. Ji Chun did not even think about it as he raised his fist and threw a punch in Li Sheng's direction, using all his strength. Perhaps his past was long gone, or perhaps he no longer loved Ning Qiu. However, the accumulation of hatred was often hidden in the depths of one's heart. One day, it would suddenly erupt. Pong! Li Sheng fell to the ground and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with a smile. He looked at Ji Chun and said, you lost. In the next second, the host hurriedly pulled them apart and made a ruling. He lost last year because he saw Ning Qiu at the competition, and he lost this year because of Ning Qiu. Ji Chun slightly turned and looked at the unfinished question on the electronic screen. His lips curled into a helpless smile before he looked at Li Sheng and said, does it feel good to have an unfair victory? After saying this, he turned around and walked off the stage. Chapter 4:04. There were some things where winning wasn't a true win and losing wasn't a true loss. Being too stubborn would only trap you in your own thoughts, and you would never be able to walk out. Ji Chun sat beside her with a bit of indifference in his eyes. It wasn't as helpless as before. Rather, it was a feeling of letting go. All right, let's invite number 34 onto the stage to accept the challenge. Luo Qingqian looked down at her paper and saw that it was her number. She didn't know that Ji-chun would hold her hand and shake his head with a faint smile. Don't go. You're not his match. How am I not his match? Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said, You don't believe in my strength. The question I gave you last time is not on the same level as the one they gave today. Ji Chin's eyes flashed with a faint liguang, suddenly not willing to let his little assistant be bullied. Is number 34 here? Are you planning on giving up? Here. Luo Qingshun suddenly stood up, instantly attracting everyone's attention. She didn't forget to lower her head and say in a soft voice when she passed by Ji Chun, If I win, you have to bring me to the crown's anniversary banquet tonight. After saying this, she turned to walk onto the stage. She left behind a faint back and Ji Chin's stunned face. Ku. Was she going to be his female companion? Why did he feel a bit excited thinking about it? It was like he hadn't felt this kind of feeling in a long time. It was very strange. AI, you really are making me laugh. Li Sheng looked at her with eyes filled with disdain as he said, Don't say that I'm bullying a little sister. I'll give you 10 seconds. You answer first. Oh, all right. She picked up the pen and turned to look at the screen with a soft laugh. After that, the question appeared on the screen. She nodded, raised her hand, and put down the pen. It took less than 3 seconds. There's still 7 seconds. She turned to look at Li Sheng and gave a shrug. Her eyes didn't have any ripples as she said, You've already lost. See. Instantly, the crowd fell into an uproar. An incomparably young girl had actually defeated last year's champion in less than 10 seconds after coming onto the stage. It was simply incomparably shocking. Many whispers filled the entire venue of the exchange. Li Sheng looked at the electronic screen in a panic. He then turned to the host and said, This round doesn't count. I just let her win. I didn't expect her to take advantage of the loophole. The host said with some difficulty, I'm afraid it's not too. It's fine. Luo Qingshun chuckled and interrupted the host's words. She looked at Li Sheng and said, My master said that respecting the old and loving the young is a moral character. It doesn't matter if you give way. This little girl, may I know your master's name? An old man in the audience pushed up his glasses and asked Luo Qingshun. Ji Chun. As soon as she finished speaking, she turned to face the electronic screen. The clear liguang in her eyes flickered slightly. Perhaps she didn't know that her actions on stage had made Ji Chin's heart tremble. I'll let you be arrogant for a while. Li Sheng gritted his teeth and looked at her. The next second, a new question appeared on the screen. Luo Qingshun would always write down the answer when Li Sheng was about to finish. It was like this every time, allowing Li Sheng to catch up to her in 5 seconds. However, the more time passed, the more Li Sheng couldn't do it, and the longer Luo Qingshun waited for him. When it came to the 20th question, Luo Qingshun looked at Li Sheng, whose face was covered in sweat and whose hair was a bit messy, and said, Sorry, I don't want to wait for you. Chapter 405. Instantly, the crowd was stunned. This 17-18-year-old girl on stage wasn't afraid at all in front of last year's champion Li Sheng. The most terrifying thing was that she could solve the problem this quickly. She didn't write down the process at all and directly wrote down the answer. Einstein once said, Only writing down the answer and not the process is because the process is in your mind and you don't need to write it down. Li Sheng looked at his blank tablet, and his face turned red as his eyes became bloodshot. He held his chest and slowly raised the tablet in his hand, wanting to throw it at Luo Qingshun. When Luo Qingshun wanted to beat him up, Ji Chun softly pulled her behind him to protect her. MMP, who was it that blocked the wild power in her heart? Without knowing why, when she saw a man like Li Sheng, she wanted to slap him twice. Perhaps it was because he really deserved a beating. A dog's mouth couldn't spit out anything good. She often saw this kind of boy in her youth. Their words were hard to hear, their actions were rough, and they always thought they were handsome. Actually, in a girl's heart, it was unknown how annoying this kind of person was. In her heart, a real handsome man was the kind that stood there with a warm breeze blowing by, being as calm as ever. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Li Sheng wildly shook his head as he held his chest. He shouted with a fierce expression, Impossible, definitely impossible. You must have leaked the secret. Impossible. He was Li Sheng, the Li Sheng who had beaten Ji Chun, a math genius. How could he lose to a little girl? Impossible, definitely impossible. Saying you leaked the secret because you don't have the ability. Where's your face? Ji Chun gave a cold snort. He took Luo Qingxin's hand and walked off the stage. At that moment, everyone's eyes fell onto this math genius girl. She was so dazzling that it made people's eyes stop. At the same time, Yiji Jean and Ethan returned to the other shore coffee shop after meeting. Su Lan was still waiting for him, with a bit of confusion in her eyes. Tonight was the Crown's anniversary banquet. She knew that he didn't need a date, but she still wanted to be his date. Ji Chun went to the conference, right? Yiji Jean ordered a cup of coffee and sat down in front of Su Lan. Over the years, he had gotten used to drinking coffee. He drank it even when he was asleep. He always felt that if he drank too much, it could numb certain nerves in his brain and stop him from thinking. Yes. Su Lan raised her eyes slightly and smiled. He said he would come back and asked me to wait here. After all these years, Su Lan found that she didn't understand Yiji Jean as well as Ji Chun did. Yiji Jean didn't have anyone else by his side. She clearly had many chances, but she couldn't enter his heart. You know me quite well. Yiji Jean looked at his watch and calmly said, "It's about time to go to the anniversary celebration. I'll send you back." To Yiji Jean, Su Lan was the professor's daughter and nothing else. Ji Jean. Su Lan pursed her lips and said, "I want to celebrate the anniversary with you. It's the company's anniversary. No outsiders." His tone was flat, so flat that there was no light in Mo Tan's deep eyes. Hey, who dropped this bracelet? It's so beautiful, it's rainbow. It's a pity there's a scratch on the red part. After that, Yiji Jean was stunned. His deep eyes sparkled as they were dyed layer by layer. He rushed to the source of the sound like a madman and slowly picked up the rainbow-colored bracelet. Chapter 406. That winter, it was her first birthday after they reunited. He thought for a long time, but he didn't know what to give her. He asked many people and did a lot of research. He even went to forums and searched Baidu. In the end, he received unrealistic comments. After thinking about it, he finally decided to give her a bracelet that he personally made. He clearly remembered that day, the expression she had when she opened the gift. That was a look of pleasant surprise that came from her eyes. Seeing the girl he liked reveal a moved expression in front of him, he always felt very proud in his heart at that time. Then there was a physical education class where she accidentally fell down. The red crystal on the bracelet was a bit scratched, and he went to many shops with her. They all said that it couldn't be fixed and could only be replaced. In the end, she put her hands on her waist and said to him with a smile, "Life is only complete after a bit of stumbling." At that time, she was wearing a red and blue school uniform with a sweet smile on her face. The warm sunlight shined through the leaves and shined down on her white face. She was so beautiful that it couldn't be imagined. "Director Yi, do you have any orders?" The manager on duty saw Yiji Jean and quickly ran over to ask this. "Immediately take out all the surveillance footage from the coffee shop today. I want it now. I want it now. I want it now." He took the bracelet and tightly held it in his hand. There was a flash of light that appeared in the dark night. 7 years. She had been missing for an entire 7 years. Everyone said that she was definitely dead, but he didn't believe it. He would never believe it, even until the day he died. He would never believe it. Yes, Director Yi." The manager on duty gave the order in a panic, looking very nervous. "Ji Jean, what is it?" Su Lan saw his cold expression and came forward to ask in a concerned voice. She had never seen him this anxious before, whether it was in Cambridge or in the country. Whether it was a large-scale project or a bid, he was always this calm, never showing any fluctuations in his emotions. "Don't speak." He took a deep breath as his eyes fell onto the rainbow bracelet, never leaving it. Yiji Jean felt that when he tightly held the bracelet, he could feel a faint warmth coming from it. It came from her warmth. He was afraid that if someone talked to him, they would break this beautiful dream. He was afraid that this was just a dream. After all these years, he had dreamed of meeting her countless times. He was that excited and happy in his dreams. But the moment he woke up, he knew that it was all a delusion. Half an hour later, he was sitting in front of the TV, watching the surveillance footage. His slender fingers slowly pressed the pause button when she appeared. Her hair was cut short with small curls. She was wearing a goose yellow sweater, and her eyes as clear as water. Time didn't seem to leave any traces on her face. She was still the same Luo Qingchun from before. She hadn't changed at all. Every movement of his was so moving. Sulan Ji Jin Ji Jin, Ji Ji Jin, Ji Ji Jin, Ji Ji Jin, Ji Ji, Ji 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 was Ji. She had never seen this kind of Yi Ji Jin. In her eyes, Yi Ji Jin was always calm, never revealing his true emotions because of anything. This was the first time she had seen an indescribable emotion in the depths of his eyes since she had known him for so many years. Chapter 407. Go back by yourself. I still have other things to do. He took his coat and left the coffee shop without looking back, heading in the direction of the conference. During this time, he desperately called Ji Chin's cell phone again and again, but he didn't pick up. His mind went back to when he was playing basketball with Ji Chin last night, and the person Ji Chin mentioned, his assistant. When Yi Ji Jin rushed to the conference as fast as he could, there were only a few scholars and a few staff members left. Hello, is Mr. Ji Chin here today? Yi Ji Jin casually grabbed a scholar and asked. The scholar nodded and said, he came, but he left a long time ago. He didn't take first place? No. The scholar heard this and looked at Yi Ji Jin like he was describing a shocking matter. There's a dark horse in this year's math genius competition. It's simply amazing. Right. Another scholar came forward to look at him and said, she looks very young, but her math skills are very high. She doesn't even need to think about it and can directly write out the answer. Look, the scholar from before pointed at Luo Qingchun's writing on the LCD screen and said, this is the question she answered. It's too powerful. Li Sheng was so shocked that his heart broke, and he was sent to the hospital. Yi Ji Jin took a deep breath and slowly turned around, looking at the words on the screen. It was indeed written by her. Her words had always been a bit round, looking very cute and very recognizable. After a while, he looked up and raised his right hand. His finger moved across the screen as he muttered, you're finally back. On the other side, at the amusement park, Ji Chun was a bit annoyed, but he didn't know where this annoyance came from. He was a bit annoyed. Although Luo Qingchun beat Li Sheng, her answering speed was much faster than his. He felt a bit annoyed. He felt that the field he was most proud of had been beaten by a little girl. It was very embarrassing. What did you bring me here for? Luo Qingchun revealed a confused look, all right? Cuckoo. Ji Chun cleared his throat and looked at her. I don't accept this. What are you not convinced about? Luo Qingchun rolled her eyes at him and said, I helped you slap that Li Sheng in the face. You don't thank me, and you're not convinced? I refuse to accept this. Ji Chun pursed his lips and pointed at the amusement park in front of them. I'm a person who likes thrilling and exciting things the most. Roller coasters and pirate ships are all my favorites. Oh, Luo Qingchun crossed her arms and looked at him. What does it have to do with me? Didn't you promise to take me to the party? Why did she have a feeling that the person in front of her would go back on her words? She felt very uneasy. The banquet hasn't started yet. Play with me first. Ji Chun softly pushed her shoulder before heading in the direction of the 360-degree roller coaster. He sat up straight, fastened his seatbelt, and the car slowly moved forward. Ching, just shout if you're afraid. Big brother will protect you. Ji Chun patted his chest as he spoke with a righteous look. I've never sat on this before. She pursed her lips and said, I don't know if I'll be afraid. Whoa. Ji Chun looked at her with an excited look. That really is great. Actually, he just wanted to win back a bit of face in a certain field. In his eyes, girls were always weak. Even if Luo Qingchun was a genius in math, she would still scream in front of the roller coaster. But he didn't know. Until the roller coaster finished, Luo Qingchun didn't make a single sound. Chapter 408. Damn, are you even a girl? Ji Chun panted as he looked at her. You're too calm. Luo Qingchun blinked and looked at Ji Chun with a confused look. Is this very terrifying? Those cultivators fly around all day. Wouldn't they be scared to death? It wasn't like she hadn't been to a world with magic before. That kind of speed and reversal compared to a roller coaster, it wasn't even on the same level, all right? Ji-chan came forward when he heard this and reached out his right hand to touch Luo Qingchen's forehead as he said, "Qing, don't read too many fantasy novels. It's easy to go crazy." "Pooh." Luo Qingchen looked at him and said with a faint smile, "Don't be silly. Now that the roller coaster has been made, can you bring me to the banquet?" "Why do you want to go to the banquet this much?" Ji-chen's eyes flashed with a trace of confusion as he looked at her and said, "Could it be that you're a spy sent by the same industry?" Luo Qingchen couldn't understand this person's brain at all. All right? Were the brains of people who were good at math different from normal people? Cuckoo. She cleared her throat and did the same thing that Ji-chun had done to her. She placed the back of her hand on his forehead and said, "Vice Director Ji, don't read too many detective novels. It's easy to get paranoid." "All right, you have a sharp tongue, but you definitely don't have the calmness of a math student." He looked down at his watch and said, "I'll bring you to change clothes. We'll go to the banquet." "Change clothes?" Luo Qingqian looked down at the goose yellow sweater she was wearing and pursed her lips as she said, "My clothes don't look good?" She had spent a large amount of money to buy these clothes, and it was money from a system. What was the host calling the system for? Nothing, leave. It had to be said that Ji-chun really was a rich person. He could casually walk into a famous brand store and the staff would call out his surname. "Mr. Ji, welcome. Choose a fresh evening gown for this miss." Ji-chun looked over Luo Qingchen and looked at her figure before saying, "The smallest size." As soon as he said this, Luo Qingchen felt her cheeks heat up. "Okay." The waitress smiled sweetly. She looked at Luo Qingchen and said, "Miss, please come with me." The waitress showed her several evening gowns that were suitable for her skin tone and figure. Finally, her gaze fell on a slightly cute mid-length dress. She raised her eyebrows slightly and said, "I'll take this one." After changing her clothes, she slowly pulled open the curtain. Her eyebrows moved slightly, and there was an extremely faint smile on her lips. The moment Ji-chun saw her, he felt his heart beating fast. She wasn't the kind of beauty that one would think of as a school belle at first glance, but after a few more glances, one would feel that she was especially beautiful no matter how one looked at her. She was wearing a light pink carry. Nordling, it was a short jacket with a chiffon mid-length dress. The bow at her waist was very cute, and there were layers of lace decorating the beautiful dress. With her slightly curled hair, she looked very cute. "Miss Qing, I dare guarantee that you will be the most dazzling light at the banquet today." Ji-chen's lips curled into a smile. Looking into her eyes, there were ripples in his heart. After buying the clothes, the chauffeur was already waiting outside the store. She sat in the back seat, and even her breathing was tense. Her palms couldn't help being covered in a cold sweat. Ji-chan took out his phone from his pocket and muttered with a look of surprise, "Is Ji-jin crazy? Calling me 300 times in a single afternoon? Was he kidnapped?" After that, his phone rang. Chapter 409. When everything comes back to square one, will you still be the same youth from before? I will still wait, waiting for the most beautiful ending to bloom in this warm summer. Dasha! Ji-chan was clearly surprised. He turned to look at Luo Qingchen beside him and said in a confused voice, "You're asking about my little assistant? Where are you right now?" "Do." Hey. Ji-chun knit his brows and looked at his phone as he said, "It's out of battery." Luo Qingchen looked up as her breathing became a bit chaotic. She turned to look at Ji-chun and muttered, "What did you just say?" "That fellow Yi Ji-jin called me over 300 times just to ask me one thing. Where is Luo Qingchen?" Ji-chun looked at her with a bit of probing in his eyes as he said, "You know each other before?" "He knows." She slightly knit her brows as a faint mist appeared in her eyes. Ji-chun saw that her mood wasn't right, so he didn't say anything else. But there were ripples in the depths of his heart as he felt a bit of fear. At the entrance of the Crown Corporation's anniversary banquet, all the famous people of S-City were present. Ji-chun softly pulled her hand and whispered in her ear with a smile, "Although I don't know what happened between you and Yi Ji-jin, since you're here, You should bravely face it. I've always been brave. Luo Qingshun gave a soft laugh and walked forward. No matter what the future was, as long as it was him in front of her, she could disregard everything and bravely charge forward. The banquet hall was very big, and all the important people had brought their children, wanting to use this chance to build a solid foundation for their businesses. To put it simply, it was a marriage alliance. Of course, the biggest target tonight was the Crown Corporation CEO, Yi Jin. Luo Qingshun looked around, and it was simply like the ancient Yihong house. Young ladies from all walks of life were dressed in flowery attire. Backless dresses were already a common phenomenon. There really weren't many people who wore a normal dress like her. Ji Chun, long time no see. A man in a suit came forward with a girl following behind him. The girl didn't look old, but she was dressed very maturely. "Hello, Director Li." Ji Chun gave a polite nod. "This is my daughter, Wan Yue." He gently tugged at his daughter. "Quickly greet CEO Ji." "Hello." Ji Chen's voice was as soft as before. It was no longer as bright as before. Rather, it was much more polite. "Last year, when my daughter saw CEO Ji, she went back and told me that I must bring him here this year." Director Li smiled, his eyes full of anticipation. He didn't give up the idea of promoting his daughter because of Ji Chen's indifference and completely ignored Luo Qingshun beside him. When Ji Chun was a bit impatient, another person came forward. "Hello, CEO Ji. This is..." Chairman Wang brought his son over and looked at Luo Qingshun. "She looks so young. Is she your girlfriend?" "No." Ji Chun was stunned by this question and almost blurted it out. "Ah!" Chairman Wang suddenly realized and smiled. "That must be my sister. She's so beautiful. I wonder if she has a boyfriend." "Hello, I am Wang Deshan." Instantly, Luo Qingshun almost broke out in laughter. If this place wasn't a high-end hotel's anniversary celebration, she would have thought that this was an uncle bringing his son to sell underage girls. "Hello, Director Wang. Isn't she..." Punk. The door to the hotel's banquet hall was opened. Chapter 410. I've thought countless times about what kind of situation I would meet you in, but I've never thought about what kind of reaction I would have when I met you. Quickly go over, Director Yi is here. The surrounding people instantly rushed towards the direction of the door. They only wanted to be the first to seize the opportunity and leave a trace of impression in front of this young talent. Luo Qingshun stood there and watched him move like a ray of light, walking towards her step by step. His target was very clear. He didn't stop at any place for even a second as he walked steadily in her direction. Wang Dashan, standing on the side, took out a business card from his pocket and gave it to Luo Qingshun as he said, "If there's a chance, contact him." Before she could finish, Yi Jin had already walked in front of her. His star-like eyes had a sparkle to them, like he could see through her in the next second. The memories of the past flashed in front of her eyes, just like a scene from a movie, vivid in her mind. From the first time they met, in the classroom for the interest class, he turned and looked into her clear eyes. He softly said, "Quickly go." From the first time they met, on the basketball court, he took the basketball from Gu Qing Nua's hands. Without another word, he turned around in a beautiful arc. 3-point shot. From the first confession. In the text message, he nervously typed a few words. "I like you. Yi Jin." From the first parting. After a while, his clear and pleasant voice filled the air. "Good night. I'll see you tomorrow." Right now, he was standing in front of her. 7 years was like a cycle in his life. He wasn't afraid of waiting. He was afraid of waiting without a limit. Endless until the end of time. "What's wrong with you two?" Ji Chun saw that they weren't talking and there was a large crowd around them, so he quickly spoke up to break the silence. "I'm going back." Pong. Before Luo Qingshun could even finish, she was pulled into a warm embrace. She could feel his strong heartbeat. It was so frantic and hot. "It's good that you're home." His cool voice sounded in her ears with a bit of a sob. "Nothing is important. It's good that you're back." He had thought that such a meeting would only happen in his dreams. But the heavens suddenly gave him a big gift, making him panic and not know what to do. Yi Jin, when she said that it was good to go home, her emotions instantly collapsed. He did not blame her. He did not hate her. She could even hear a hint of begging in his tone. As long as she came back, he would do anything. Why was there this kind of Yi Jin in this world? He was completely different from the reunions in the dramas. He didn't speak coldly or act high up. In his heart, there was only one eternal obsession. As long as she came back, he would do anything. Luo Qingchun. Really, it's fine as long as you come back. He used all his strength to tightly hold her, as if he wanted to squeeze her into his body. He softly said, "Can you tell me how long you'll be gone the next time you go to a parallel world?" "I'll wait. I'll definitely wait. It's fine as long as you come back." Countless lights shone on them. He didn't care about other people's gazes or words. Chapter 411. Kacha Kacha. The sound of a camera shutter came from a certain corner. For this kind of banquet, how could there not be a few reporters? But did Yi Jin really care? He softly let go of Luo Qingchun and took her hand, walking towards the door. Sulan, not far away, slowly walked over. Her eyes were a bit red, but when she saw Luo Qingchun, she elegantly reached out her hand and said, "Hello, I am Sulan." Yi Jin's eyes were very calm. He wasn't worried about what Sulan would say at all, because there was nothing between him and Sulan. "Hello." She gave a slight nod, not understanding why she suddenly blocked her way. "I am Yi Jin, the daughter of a professor at Cambridge. Although we've met before, I've never properly introduced myself." There were a few tears in her eyes, but her heart was incomparably calm at this moment. Perhaps there were some things that needed to be personally seen to know. There were some people that you couldn't enter their heart no matter how hard you tried. This was because his heart was already filled with another person. Sulan had never seen Yi Jin like this before, but after seeing it, she understood. "I know," she said with a faint smile. "Ji Chun mentioned you again." She bit her lip and looked up at Yi Jin. "You also know that father is alone abroad, and I should go back to be with him. How about we say goodbye today? Senior brother Yi." "All right, have a safe trip." His voice was as calm as water, without any fluctuations at all, because he knew that he couldn't hesitate at all when it came to this kind of thing. Once he hesitated, he would give the other side hope. Once there was hope, it would bring endless harm. He knew what he wanted since the day he understood, so he kept working hard for this goal, moving forward. Even if he hit a wall, even if his head bled, he would walk to the end and never look back. After saying goodbye to Sulan, he brought her out of the banquet hall in front of everyone, completely ignoring everyone's gazes and the importance of this banquet. Because in his eyes, the girl standing beside him was more important than anything else in this world, including himself. On the top floor of the Crown Hotel, the night breeze blew and there was a faint begonia scent in the air. Another October of the year. Yi Jin. Luo Qingchun looked at his back, looking as straight as before. She still remembered the military training that year. He had carried her like this and walked down the mountain step by step in the heavy rain. He did not care about the wounds on his body, did not care about the blood that was flowing out. He responded softly, his eyes filled with gentleness. For the first time, she realized that she could see such a beautiful night view from the rooftop of the Crown Hotel. In the past, he had never felt that. "Don't you have anything to ask me?" She pursed her lips, her clear voice resounding in the silent night sky. 7 years, a whole 7 years. She had disappeared for 7 years, but he had not complained at all. How strong of a heart and obsession was needed to create this kind of Yi Jin? "There is." He slowly turned around and put his hands in his pockets. His eyes were filled with affection and a faint smile appeared on his face. "Come here, and I'll tell you." Luo Qingchun took a deep breath and walked towards him step by step. She had already decided that if he asked, even if it was unbelievable, she would tell him the truth. Chapter 412. After that, she was speechless. She felt her nose become stuffy and her eyes were filled with tears. "Don't be silent." He revealed a gentle smile. His right hand softly touched her cheek as he said in a pampering voice, "This question is very important. I'll be afraid if you're silent." No. She desperately shook her head as she bit her lip and said, "I won't say goodbye. I won't say goodbye." She felt that looking into Yi Jin's eyes, her heart was filled with pain. After waiting for a long time, he was just like before, silent as ever. "That's enough." He revealed a faint smile as stars sparkled in his eyes. But she seemed to have thought of something as she looked at him and said, "If you leave like this, is there a problem with the anniversary celebration?" "There's Ji Chun, there's no problem." Yiji Jin's style changed as he raised a brow and said, "But how did you become Ji Chun's assistant?" He vaguely remembered what Ji Chun said to him yesterday. Everything had to be first come, first served. He couldn't help finding it a bit funny now that he thought about it. First come, first served, it couldn't be counted on Ji Chun. "Cuckoo." Luo Qingchun gave a shrug as she said, "This matter, it's a bit long to explain." Yiji Jin wasn't interested in why she disappeared for 7 years. Rather, he was interested in how she met Ji Chun. His Lord childhood friend also didn't understand. "Don't keep it short, try to be as detailed as possible." Yiji Jin revealed a faint smile as his ink-like eyes lit up. Under this kind of night, it looked that good. The next morning, Luo Qingchun saw the entertainment news pop up on her phone as soon as she woke up. Today's headline: Crown Hotel CEO Yiji Jin confesses at the anniversary celebration. Breaking news: the single noble Yiji Jin's lover is her. Entertainment news: reuniting after 7 years. Childhood sweethearts in a fairy tale. It seemed like the internet really was a giant information center. In just a single night, the media had already dug out her and Yiji Jin's high school photos. She suddenly sat up in bed and quickly called Yiji Jin. No one picked up. After that, she quickly sent him a text. "Did you see the news?" "Luo Qingchun, ding ling," the phone rang. "What is it? You slept so late last night, and you're up so early today?" Yiji Jin's gentle voice came from the other side, and she felt a warm feeling in her heart. It was as if he hadn't heard such a gentle voice in a long time. He missed it so much. She didn't know that under Yiji Jin's calm voice, there were waves in his heart. "Have you seen today's news?" She cleared her throat and asked the question again. "Uh-huh," he replied faintly. "You're very photogenic." Luo Qingchun looked confused. "That's not what I meant, okay? What I mean is, Qingchun." Yiji Jin gently cut her off and said in a soft voice, "I have a press conference later. Can you promise me something?" Without knowing why, when he said this, Yiji Jin's heart was strangely nervous. "What is it? No matter what I say at the press conference, can you not be angry with me? What is there for me to be angry about?" Luo Qingchun said with a soft laugh, "I'm just afraid that this sudden news will affect you or the Crown Hotel." After all, she was someone who had suddenly fallen from the sky. Chapter 413. After hanging up, Luo Qingchun unconsciously turned on the TV. Yiji Jin's press conference had already begun. He was wearing a coffee-colored suit, and there was a faint glow in his eyes. This ray of light seemed to be able to penetrate the television and was reflected in her eyes. Yiji Jin didn't even speak before the cameras flashed. Many reporters began to ask questions one after another. "Mr. Yi, what is your relationship with the girl in the picture?" "Director Yi, is she the daughter of a rich family or is she a normal person?" "May I ask, the rumors that you rejected Sulan before, was it because of this girl? I heard that you went to the same school in high school. Is that true?" "Director Yi, her name is Luo Qingchun, right?" "Director Yi, please clarify this. Is this a hype, or is there an unspeakable relationship between the two of you?" Yiji Jin heard this, and his eyes turned cold. He took the microphone, and his voice was as calm as water. "I'm holding this press conference for nothing else. I just want to say something." He casually looked at the camera, and his deep eyes narrowed as he said, "I want to marry young Miss Luo Qingchun at the end of this month. At that time, all Dream 1 high school students will be able to enter the Crown Hotel for free with their student ID. Thank you, everyone." After saying this, he slowly stood up and left the press conference in an uproar. From beginning to end, he didn't even appear for a minute. Luo Qingchun, in front of the TV, instantly burst into tears. She heard what he had just said, telling her not to be angry. Ding-ling. After that, her phone rang. She picked it up and found that she couldn't say a single word. Beside her ear was the sound of his shallow breathing. It was soft and comfortable. "Young Miss Luo Qingchun, can I come and find you now?" His cold voice broke the silence of the phone. After a while, her soft voice came from the other side, filled with gratitude and expectation. The starry sky waits for the night. The kite depends on the string. The most beautiful thing in love is company. Mr. Yi used a different kind of waiting and dependence to give her the most complete company. That Mr. Childhood friend who had been with her since he could understand used an endless amount of time in his life to wait. He was waiting for the moment when the flowers bloomed, waiting for her to return slowly. On the eve of the wedding, she easily obtained Bei Xiaoshi's phone number through Yi Jijin. Only after asking did he find out that Bei Xiaoshi, who used to be a bad student, had actually started studying. Luo Qingchen was shocked by the news that she was a graduate student at a very famous university. The two of them agreed to meet at a coffee shop. The moment Bei Xiaoshi saw Luo Qingchen, she began to cry. Before they met, she kept telling herself that she couldn't cry. She definitely couldn't cry. That heartless person had finally returned. She must stand in front of her in a relaxed manner and give her the most brilliant smile and hug. But who would have thought that she would end up crying? Furthermore, he was wailing loudly. "Io, if you cry like this, others will think that I stole your boyfriend." Luo Qingchen hurriedly handed her a tissue and said, "How old are you? You still cry." Chapter 414. She nodded as she looked at Bei Xiaoshi. She said word for word, "In the future, I won't leave. It's best if it's like this." Bei Xiaoshi took the tissue and wiped her tears as she said, "But you're about to get married. You'll definitely be very happy with my desk mate." "I know." She took a sip of coffee and softly said, "I never thought that you would take the postgraduate entrance exam." She shrugged her shoulders and pretended to be relaxed as she said, "I wanted to become stronger at that time. If I had some fame in the future, it would be easier to find you. So I desperately studied." Luo Qingchen heard this and was a bit stunned. Facing this Bei Xiaoshi who was smiling at her and crying at her, it was worth it to go back in time 7 years ago. "Powerful, my Bei Xiaoshi." Ding ling. Luo Qingchen wanted to say something, but Bei Xiaoshi's cell phone's ringtone cut her off. The moment she picked up the phone, her expression changed. She nodded twice and said into the phone, "Don't be nervous. I'll be back soon." "What is it?" Luo Qingchen saw the normally outgoing Bei Xiaoshi reveal such a serious expression, so she felt that this matter was very serious. "I have to take a trip back to school." She knit her brows and said, "Our school hasn't been peaceful recently. 2 girls have already died." Luo Qingchen heard this and almost spat out the coffee in her mouth. She gave 2 dry coughs and said, "What is the situation?" "My roommate's little sister received a death notice today. She is very afraid right now, so I'm going back first." Bei Xiaoshi knit her brows and narrowed her eyes as she said, "Baby Qingchen, I feel that this matter is related to someone." She thought about it and decided to tell Luo Qingchen her guess. "Who?" Luo Qingchen slightly looked up and slightly knit her brows. "Cheng Qianzi." When Bei Xiaoshi said these 3 words, Luo Qingchen decided that she had to go to her university to take a look. The person who had caused her life to be blank for an entire 7 years had finally appeared. It was time for the many things that had happened over the years to come to an end. On the way, Bei Xiaoshi told her about her speculations. Luo Qingchen felt that there was nothing wrong with it, and the possibility was very high. The 2 dead girls were once Gu Qingnua's girlfriends, and Bei Xiaoshi's roommate was his current girlfriend. "So, Gu Qingnua is also a student at your university, right?" Bei Xiaoshi nodded. "He's also a graduate student." Luo Qingchen slightly frowned and said, "With his looks, he should be very popular in a university where people can casually fall in love." Bei Xiaoshi continued to nod. "School hunk." "Understood." Luo Qingchen rested her chin on her hand and leaned against the back seat of the taxi, her eyes cold. "Do you think I guessed wrong?" Bei Xiaoshi knit her brows and said, "Although I've heard that Cheng Qianzi comes to find Gu Qingnua every day, the 2 dead girls were disfigured, so she wouldn't be this cruel." "I think she would." Luo Qingchen nodded and asked, "Did the police investigate her?" "I'm not too clear on that. She has been questioned, but the police have no evidence." Bei Xiaoshi replied, "If there's no evidence," her eyes lit up as she said, "we'll create evidence." She thought that there was no one in this world that could surpass her understanding of Cheng Qianzi. Chapter 415. I'm going to Nanyang University with Bei Xiaoshi. I have something to do, so I'll be back later. Luo Qingshun. Picking up her phone, she quickly sent a text to Yi Jin before walking into Nanyang University with Bei Xiaoshi. When she walked in, she felt that the atmosphere was very strange. The school wasn't as noisy as before, and there were only a few people scattered along the path, looking at her with vigilant eyes. It's very quiet, Bei Xiaoshi said with a shrug. This kind of thing happened at school, and the culprit hasn't been caught yet, so everyone is worried. There are many local parents who are picking up their children from school. Let's go to your dorm first. She gave a slight nod, not making any meaningless guesses. When she arrived at Bei Xiaoshi's dorm, she saw a figure she hadn't seen in a long time, Gu Qingnua. He was still the same as before, wearing a casual white shirt. With a faint smile, he could charm a group of girls. Ying, are you all right? Bei Xiaoshi walked forward and took the so-called death announcement. Looking over it, her brows tightly knit. At the same time, Gu Qingnua's eyes fell onto Luo Qingshun. His eyes turned cold, and only after a while did he come back to his senses. He said with a faint smile, "Long time no see." He had just seen her on the front page yesterday, and now he was seeing her in person. After all these years, she was still together with Yi Jin. Thinking of the past, how could his heart not tremble? Only this girl didn't give him a chance at all. Thinking of it now, there was a bit of regret in his heart. She said with a nod with a faint smile. I don't think we should talk about the past in this situation. An awkward look flashed in Gu Qingnua's eyes as he said, all right. Luo Qingshun gave a slight nod and came forward to take the death declaration from Bei Xiaoshi's hands. There were a few red words printed on it. You don't deserve the current love. Death is waiting for you. Have any of the victims received this death declaration before? Luo Qingshun looked at Bei Xiaoshi and asked this. Yes. Bei Xiaoshi said with a serious nod. The police said it. All right, I got it. She turned her gaze to Gu Qingnua and asked with a light laugh. Don't you suspect her? Her question was very direct and went straight to the point without any euphemism. I don't think she's that kind of person. After a long time, Gu Qingnua furrowed his brows and said, Moreover, there are many people who like me at school. We can't rule out other possibilities. Of course. Luo Qingshun narrowed her eyes and chuckled. Since the beginning, there have been many people who have liked you. Your method of neither accepting nor rejecting them has made many people nervous and expectant. Qingshun, Gu Qingnua's eyebrows moved slightly as a different emotion flashed through his eyes. Enough. She took a deep breath and said, I'm here to help, not to cause trouble. I have a way to make the murderer appear. Then, Ying looked fearfully at Luo Qingshun and asked, Should I keep my distance from Qingnua right now? No. Her eyes slightly lit up as she said with a faint smile, You should stick together and be as loving as possible. Moreover, you should do something crazy. In her eyes, even if there were 100 girls at Nanyang University that liked Gu Qingnua, the only one who could do something like disfiguring someone was Cheng Qianzi. Chapter 416. According to the weather forecast, it would rain tonight. At this time, it was 2 in the afternoon, and the sky was clear with the sun shining high in the sky. The campus that hadn't been seen in a long time was filled with colorful balloons. Gu Qingnua was wearing a black suit and holding a large bouquet of roses in his hand. He was kneeling in the sea of balloons as he proposed to Zhang Xiaoying. This scene was so sweet that it made people's lips unconsciously curl. Not far away, Luo Qingshun was standing behind the curtains of a school building with binoculars and her eyes slightly narrowed. Will Qingshun really be all right? Bei Xiaoshi was a bit worried since the enemy was in the dark and they were in the light. Relax, she said with a nod. Leave it to me. Her binoculars finally stopped at a certain angle. Her eyes turned cold and her lips curled into a faint smile. There were some things that needed to be resolved, and some people needed to meet a tragic end. At 8 in the evening, Zhang Xiaoying received a text from Gu Qingnua and quickly left the dorm. There was already a small drizzle in the sky, and the surrounding temperature suddenly dropped. Zhang Xiaoying softly touched the invisible earpiece in her right ear and opened the umbrella as she headed to the library. Time ticked by. She walked into the library and slowly closed the umbrella. What she didn't know was that in the next second, pong! The library's door was suddenly closed, and the lights that were still on instantly dimmed. The person standing in the darkness reached out his right hand and charged at the person who just came in with a sharp blade in his hand. He felt a sharp blade gently touch his skin, and then he grabbed Cheng Qianzi's hand as he said, "Qianzi, it's over." Dita, all the lights in the library lit up, and Luo Qingqian's clear voice slowly sounded, "That's right, it's over." Cheng Qianzi's eyes were dazzled by the light, and she suddenly looked up to see the person in front of her. There was a bit of blood on his neck, and his brows were tightly knit. Qing Nuo. Cheng Qianzi shook her head in fear and said, "No, how? How could it be you?" "It's me." He looked at Cheng Qianzi in front of him with ice-cold eyes. Cheng Qianzi saw the blood on his neck, and her face instantly turned pale as she said, "Sorry, Qing Nuo. I didn't want to hurt you. Sorry, I just wanted to." "You want to kill me, right?" Zhang Xiaoying walked out from behind Luo Qingqian and asked coldly. "Right?" Cheng Qianzi glared at her and said in a trembling voice, "It's you. It's you. You dirty people. How can you be with Qing Nuo? You're not worthy. What does it have to do with you whether or not I'm worthy of them?" Gu Qing Nuo looked at him, his eyes cold and without a trace of warmth. "Qing Nuo, we are childhood sweethearts. I was by your side in kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, and high school." She bit her lip and pointed at Luo Qingqian, who was not far away. "If it wasn't for Luo Qingqian's appearance, we would have been together forever. Forever. Enough!" Gu Qing Nuo roared out. He looked at the fierce Cheng Qianzi and angrily said, "No matter who appears in this world, I will never like you, Cheng Qianzi, whether it is in the past, present, or future." "Qing Nuo, why are you saying this to me? I'm the one who is truly good to you." "You are good to me?" Gu Qing Nuo gave a cold snort. His cold eyes narrowed as he said, "In my eyes, you are the most disgusting and ugly person in the world. A person like you is not worthy of love, and no one will love you." The rain outside the window hit the windows of the library. Gu Qing Nuo's words slammed into Cheng Qianzi's heart. The most painful thing was this. Chapter 417. Dee-doo, dee-doo, dee-doo. After a while, the sound of police cars came from outside the library. Luo Qingqian knit her brows, feeling a bit surprised. Cheng Qianzi had been taken away by the police for murder, and there was clear evidence this time. She could clearly feel that in her eyes, there was no hate, no love, no loss, and no fear. There was only endless despair that was swallowing her bit by bit. Luo Qingqian looked up at the sky, filled with rain, and her heart filled with comfort. The person who had caused her to lose 7 years of her life had finally received her retribution. "I'll send you back." Bei Shaosher looked at the rain in the sky and spoke in a worried voice. "I think that there's no need." Her gaze was fixed on the familiar figure not far away, and the corners of her mouth curled up into a faint smile. Perhaps happiness was like this. At a certain intersection, there was a person waiting for you the entire time. The rings of time kept turning, even if the seas dried up, even if the seas turned into mulberry fields. Sitting in Yi Jin's Porsche, Luo Qingqian said, "Did you call the police?" Yi Jin gave a slight nod before saying with a serious look, "If you meet this kind of thing in the future, Mrs. Yi must tell there, Mr. Yi. He is timid and will be afraid." When he knew that she was going to Nanyang University, he knew what she was going to do. He spent an entire afternoon looking for his friends at the police station to understand the case, but the scope of the suspect was very small. Although he wasn't sure who the culprit was, in order to protect her with his connections, it was very easy for him to send the police. He had waited for her for an entire 7 years. He definitely wouldn't allow any accidents to hurt her at all. "Pucci." Luo Qingqian heard the last few words and couldn't help laughing. She wanted to say something, but when she saw his serious eyes, it was stuck in her throat and she couldn't say anything. After a while, She pursed her lips into a smile and said, "Don't be afraid. I'll protect you. I'm just afraid I don't feel safe." Yi Jean continued driving while saying this. "Then what do you need to do to feel safe?" Hiss, a long and drawn-out breaking sound resounded through the empty street. Yi Jean unbuckled his seatbelt and came close to her. His left hand took her cheek and stopped 0.01 millimeters away from her lips. A gentle voice slowly sounded. "Do you want to know?" She only felt her whole body tremble, and the redness on her cheeks quickly spread to her ears. Her surroundings were so quiet that she could clearly hear her own heartbeat. Thump, 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 thump. Can I say that I don't want to?" She pursed her lips and forced the words out of her mouth. Yi Jean was that close, and his long lashes fell onto his white skin, looking that beautiful. "I don't think I can." As soon as he finished speaking, he closed his eyes and kissed her cold lips. Tossing and turning, he was gentle and delicate. Inch by inch, he invaded all of her territory, so hot and deep. After a long time, when the rain outside the window had stopped, he slowly let go of her soft body. She gradually steadied her breathing and said proudly, "Already said you can't do it, and you're still asking me." This made her feel even more shy, and her face blushed even more. Chapter 4:18. 7 days later, it was time for her wedding. The pure white wedding dress and the beautiful music. 23 years of love had finally blossomed. The priest read the vows, and they exchanged rings, vowing to grow old together. He finally got what he wanted, marrying the only person he wanted to marry in this world. His childhood sweetheart, Luo Qingchen. Tom didn't treat him badly, not letting him be alone in this life. One afternoon after the wedding, Luo Qingchen took his wallet from the desk in the study and planned on changing the picture inside. But she never thought that when she took it out, a neatly folded piece of paper would fall out. Opening it, she found that it was the words she had written in her notebook during her last English class. She only felt that her fingertips were trembling nonstop. Inadvertently, she turned over the paper, and on it was a paragraph written with a fountain pen. "I will wait for you. I will wait for you in the short future. Of course, I have set a deadline, and I won't wait until that day comes. The deadline is 100 years. Tears couldn't help flowing out of her eyes, dripping down her cheeks, and falling into her hand. Her hand trembled slightly as that piece of paper slowly fell to the ground. She looked down, and a quiet youth had already walked in front of her. He squatted down to pick up the paper and looked into her clear as water eyes as he said, "How can Mrs. Yi peek at my private matters? This was written by my first love. You're not allowed to peek." He softly wiped her tears and slowly put the paper away, putting it in his pocket. "Sorry, Yi Jean. I made you wait for me for 7 years." She lowered her head and said the 3 words she had never said to him before. She really was sorry. No matter what the reason was, she had left him for an entire 7 years. No, it should be 10 years to be specific. Yi Jean patted her head and looked at her with deep eyes. 3 years of middle school also counts. "So, Mrs. Yi, you owe me 10 years of your life. You have to pay it back." "How do I pay it back?" "It can be calculated in your next life, but there will be interest." Yi Jean thoughtfully nodded and said, "This interest should be very high to make up for the loss of 10 years of my life." Yi Jean. She looked up into his eyes and said, "I don't have a chance to return to when we first met, but I will do my best to warm you for the rest of my life. Time is not old, and the vow is not scattered." "All right." He nodded without hesitation and gently pulled her into his arms. His eyes were filled with love as he said, "Deal." In this life, they knew each other and depended on each other until they both died a few decades later. She left 10 days earlier than Yi Jean, but these 10 days felt as long as 10 years for Yi Jean. On the day he left this world, lying on the bed, the conversation they had in the study that day flashed through his eyes. The old voice slowly sounded, softly murmuring, "You said you owed me 10 years, but you left 10 days before me." The current me has completely comprehended the principle of days passing like years. "Cruel childhood sweetheart, I'm going to find you, okay?" It said that when he said this that day, The life monitor by the bed went beep and drew a straight line. 10 years in the next life. He didn't know if she still remembered, but if she could return it to him. All meetings in this world were reunions after being separated for a long time. All parting in this world was in the future. Chapter 419. The entire dorm knew that I liked Bei Xiao Shi to the point where I could give up on everything. But only Bei Xiao Shi did not know. I wasn't tall when I was young. It wasn't until the second year of middle school that my height and appearance began to grow. My height came from my father's genes, but my appearance came from my mother's face mask, so I didn't have any pimples. Because of this, I was beaten up by my mother. She wasn't worried about her face mask, but she was afraid of my sexual orientation. However, I met Bei Xiao Shi in the first year of middle school. At that time, I had just started middle school, and because I was short, I was bullied by boys my age. They always liked to press me down in the mud and dirty my school uniform. At that time, Bei Xiao Shi was very popular. Her carefree personality made her feel like a big sister in middle school. One afternoon, I was pushed into the dirt and bullied by my classmates. It was as if bullying me had become a kind of pleasure, because I didn't know how to resist, or perhaps I couldn't beat them at that time. In a daze, I saw a girl with a ponytail walking over while eating a popsicle. Beside her stood two tall girls, looking even taller than the students bullying me. I watched her walk into my line of sight against the light. In that moment, I seemed to have seen the brightest light in my life. She threw the popsicle in her hand at the head of the boy bullying me and looked at him, learning how to bully people in the first year of middle school. Who knows, when you grow up, you'll be able to kill people and set fires. The male student was clearly a bit scared when he saw her, but he still replied, "What does it have to do with a little girl like you? You think you're a big sister." In the next second, Bei Xiao Shi shoved the male student's head into the dirt without another word. She steadied herself in the horse stance. When she saw another male student who was about to come up to help her, she raised her hand and gave him a slap. To be honest, she really was handsome like that. Other than that, it had to be said that Bei Xiao Shi really was a girl with monstrous strength. Many years later, I would still feel emotional. How could she be so strong? The enemy's momentum had been defeated, and the two tall girls came up at this time. The male students were instantly scared and begged for mercy. "Big Sister Bei, we were just messing around. We were wrong. We were wrong. We won't do it again." Scram! Bei Xiao Shi coldly snorted and kicked the male student's butt. The male student was so scared that he ran away without a trace. Bei Xiao Shi clapped her hands twice and got rid of the dirt in her hands. Looking at the popsicle on the ground, she shrugged and said, "It's a pity about a popsicle." Then, she casually extended her hand to me, wanting to pull me up. I will never forget that moment when I looked up and saw her. Her clear eyes flickered slightly, and there were some beads of sweat on her white cheeks. Her pursed lips carried a slight smile. I timidly reached out and held her slightly cold palm. Then I stood up. She looked at me seriously and arrogantly. "Why didn't you fight back? In the future, if anyone hits you, you have to fight back. If you break it, it's on me." She would never know that at that moment, my heart skipped a beat. It was as if hope had rung in my heart. The scorching sunlight pierced through the layers of darkness and warmed me up as if there was no one around. At that time, I knew that she was my only salvation. Chapter 420. However, when I truly shone with boundless radiance. Looking back, I couldn't see her figure. In the second year of middle school, I grew like crazy, as if I had suddenly exploded after being suppressed for a long time. Adding in my growing face, I instantly went from a coward that was bullied by others to a youth that the entire school focused on. I seemed to have started a different life. I began to receive love letters. I began to feel like when I walked on campus, there were girls whispering behind my back saying, "Wow, Su Ji Yuan, so handsome." But this kind of life didn't make her look at me. I even opened every single love letter, but I still didn't see her name written. She didn't even notice me. Perhaps she had already forgotten me. Thinking about it, I was so normal back then. How could she remember me? But I had to make her remember me, right? I began to carry out my plan. How to approach Bei Xiao Shi guide. I would always intentionally throw a ball when she walked past the field after class. Even if I missed, I would still act cool, At least it would attract the cheers of the surrounding girls. However, she would always walk past me with a girl called Luo Qingshun, not stopping for even a second. So angry, I began to study hard, trying to change classes. Finally, I managed to squeeze into the top 10 in a semester exam, giving me the qualifications to change classes in front of the teacher. There weren't any important classes in middle school, so changing classes depended on a single word from the teacher. However, on the first day I was in her class, I received the attention of all the girls. However, she was happily discussing some unknown topic with a deskmate called Luo Qingchen. She didn't even look at me and just mechanically clapped. So angry. In the following days, I did everything to attract her attention, but they were all failure, failure, failure. I felt like the heavens were closing all the doors, but it silently opened a window for me. In the KTV, I bumped into her. The first thing I saw when I entered the room was her phone. I did the craziest thing in my life and wrote my phone number on her phone. Then I called myself back. Just as he was about to chase after her and return it to her, he bumped into her as she ran into the private room. She didn't know how nervous I was at that moment. The friend beside her teased her not because of the collision, but because it was her. Because they know that I like Bei Xiaoshi. Finally, the heavens didn't disappoint the faithful. I had completed the first step of getting close to Bei Xiaoshi, and I had become her friend. Or perhaps it could be said that they were closer than friends. More than friends, but not yet lovers. When she felt that she wasn't gentle enough, I would tell her that I was fine with it. When she felt that her grades weren't good enough, I would tell her that I thought they were pretty good. When she felt that she was becoming a little fat, I would tell her that I felt pretty good. In this way, I walked into her life and tried my best to realize my heart's desire. We agreed to go to the same high school and go to the same university. However, I went back on my words and I filled in the application form. Because my mother had broken her leg that year, my father works outside all year round and can't come back often. I'm an only child, so I have to take on this responsibility. Dream One High School was too far from my home, so I couldn't take care of my mother. For my family, I gave up my dream of going to the same high school as her. As for me, I had also lost her. Chapter 4:21. I never told her about the application form. Only when she called me on the day of school did I tell her the truth. She was very angry. I had never seen Bei Xiaoshi this angry before. I suddenly felt like I had unknowingly hurt her. I would always remember the final words she said to me. Su Ji Yuan, you bastard, you selfish person. Where did you get the confidence that I wouldn't go to Marshall 3 High School? After saying this, she hung up the phone. After that, we lost all contact during the summer vacation. I knew that the reason she was angry wasn't because I went to Marshall 3 High School, but rather because I didn't tell her beforehand. She felt that she was no longer important, but I just didn't want her to worry. That day, I stood at the entrance of Marshall 3 High School, and the sun above me was very bright. But I felt that the warmth of the sun couldn't compare to a millionth of her smile. I always wanted to explain it to her, but I never had a chance. Until the high school basketball tournament when we met again. I didn't know that she would come, but I had this kind of expectation and couldn't sleep for an entire night. She was still the same as before, just as cute. Only there was a trace of coldness in her eyes. I told myself that I had to win this basketball game. I had to let her see my dazzling appearance again. However, a dark horse appeared in Dream One High School this year. Yi Jin. His offense and defense were the same as mine. The only terrifying thing was that his three-point shot was abnormal. It was because of this that even if their team's overall strength was lower than ours, the score was still very close. In the second half, I changed my strategy and had people focus on Yi Jin. But I never thought that he wouldn't need to attack and would still be able to make beautiful three-pointers. I was a bit anxious, and my teammates were also a bit anxious. They even used some underhanded methods to make Yi Jin fall down. I was very angry. For this game, you had to win fair and square and lose with a clear conscience. In the final 50 seconds, I held my breath as I watched my strongest opponent, Yi Jin, making my final preparations. I could lose countless basketball games in my life, but I definitely couldn't lose this one. After that, I found that Yi Jin's eyes were looking at the seats to the side. I followed his gaze and saw the lamp dangling above Bei Xiaoshi's head. Yiji Jean didn't even think as he threw the basketball and ran in the direction of the lamp. And I couldn't see the basketball flying in front of me. At that moment, I only had eyes for her. Suddenly, the competition wasn't that important anymore. Winning or losing didn't matter. As long as she was fine, everything was fine. I was thankful that I had protected her. That was probably the most handsome moment in my life. Epilogue. Later, I secretly applied for the same university as her. When she saw me, she was very surprised, but in the next second, she revealed a warm smile. I liked this smile. From the first time I saw her, she had this smile on her face. I hoped that I could use the rest of my life to protect such a smile so that it would always exist on her face. Let me use the rest of my time to make up for my 3 years of regret in high school. From now on, wherever she is, I will be there. Chapter 422. I like you, never bothering you and never giving up. Silently looking into the distance is my most affectionate secret. Yiji Jean, since I could understand, the words Luo Qingshun had been deeply ingrained in my mind and couldn't be erased. I didn't know how she did it, but it was perfect. I always thought that this kind of time would accompany me for a long time, but I never thought that she would move. It was so sudden that I didn't even have time to say goodbye to her before I lost the only young miss I grew up with. Middle school, I didn't have a choice. But high school, I could choose. When I told my mother that I wanted to apply for Dream One High School, she was even more excited than me. I think that having this kind of mother, it should be another kind of luck in life. She would never know how excited I was when I saw the class assignment form at the school gate. It was like the heavens were helping me reunite with her. Moreover, we were sitting behind each other. Although, I like being at the same table more. I accidentally heard her and Bei Xiaoshi's conversation about going to an interest class. With such a chance to meet again, how could I not go? At that time, I finally had a chance to talk to her again, but I coincidentally met Xiaomeng Tian, the little sister that suddenly came to my family 3 years ago. She always thought that my father adopted her because he felt guilty toward her mother, but she was actually my father's blood-related daughter. This meant that she was my half-sister from the same father. I told her about this during military training. The day after she and Chang Qianzi came up with a plan to throw Luo Qingshun on the mountain, I told her everything. This secret was to protect her half-sister from the same father, but if this secret would hurt the most important person to me, I would rather selfishly throw away this protection. As expected, Xiaomeng Tian never waited for me after that. I knew that I had inadvertently hurt my little sister, but I felt that at least she wouldn't go astray because of some thoughts that she shouldn't have. Her nature wasn't bad. She should have a better future. The high school exams were as easy as turning my hand for me, but in order to be at the same table as her, I decided to lower my monthly test score. However, I didn't expect that this would make the class teacher so angry that she even invited my parents and her parents. I thought I would get her scolded, but I didn't expect her mother to be shopping with my mother that day. Moreover, from their eyes, I can tell that they think highly of us. At that moment, no one knew how happy I was. It was as if a flower could bloom in an instant. Later on, we seemed to have more and more chemistry. When I stood on the basketball court and shot a three-pointer, I would always sneak a glance at her in the audience. Seeing her shouting and clapping for me filled my heart with satisfaction. How great would it be if time could continue like this? I would like to win this game for her and see her proud of me. But when I saw the lamp above her head, I knew that what I wanted to do the most wasn't to be her pride, but to always protect her. That one, my mind went blank. There was only one voice in the depths of his heart, and that was, hug her, hug her, hug her. I didn't care if the tube hit me, just as I didn't care if the branch cut my skin that day on the mountain. Chapter 423. But I worked so hard, but I couldn't keep her. I would never forget a single word she said to me that night. She asked me, "Do you believe in parallel universes in this world?" I don't know why, but when she said those words, my heart was in a mess. It was like after tonight, she would leave me. I stubbornly sent her home, stubbornly believing it, stubbornly wanting to hold her hand again. But in the final moment, it slowly fell. I said the final 5 words to her, "Good night, see you tomorrow." But tomorrow, we didn't meet again. I never thought that I would be separated from her, but you cruelly froze my world. She disappeared. Without any news, no one in the world knew where she went, and no one could find her. Everyone by my side told me, forget it. If she was still alive, how could she not come back to find you? How could she bear to leave you in pain alone? But I didn't believe it. I didn't believe a single word. Because she found a farewell letter she gave me. She didn't say she would come back. But this letter had accompanied me through countless lonely nights. It was my spiritual support. I was like a flower growing in the darkness, endlessly waiting for the warm sunlight, until I saw that 7-color bracelet, the gift I gave her. Memories of our youth flashed through my mind. She smiled faintly, and every scene was unforgettable. Those memories were deeply imprinted in my heart, indestructible. I felt that in that moment I must have gone crazy. My mind was blank, and there was only a single path in front of me, the path to the conference. I saw her handwriting there, and there was a clear image of her standing on the podium when she was 16, writing down the answers in minutes. That confidence, that cuteness, that time, that beauty. I desperately called Ji-chun again and again. My hands were trembling, but the other side still didn't pick up. When night fell, he finally picked up. I went straight to the point, asking him where Luo Ching-chun was. But that call was hung up, and when I called again, it was turned off. There was no one in the world who knew how nervous and anxious I was at this moment. My heart was like an ant on a hot pan, swallowing all my reasoning. But it was a good thing I knew that she was at the anniversary banquet. I didn't hesitate at all as I rushed over. Until the moment I opened the door. I felt my world filled with color again. Everything around me seemed to have stopped in that moment. There was only her in my eyes. She was a dazzling light. Just by standing there, she could shine in my world. In that moment, I used all the strength in my life to firmly hug her. It was like only this hug could stop my heart from trembling and being afraid. 7 years, a long and endless wait. Everything was worth it at this moment. I secretly vowed in my heart that in the future, I would always be by her side. If there was a day she wanted to travel, I would definitely go with her, because no matter which world or space-time it was, as long as she was by his side, nothing else mattered. Chapter 424. The warmth of the years, flowing through the river of time, caressing my closed heart. In the depths of time, I can hear the sound of flowers blooming. Dash, the childhood sweethearts, story has come to an end. But let's welcome our Mr. Yiju Ma. Hello, system. As expected, the system likes this kind of boy more. Men. Yiji Jean tidied up his suit and looked up as he spoke. All right, now we'll enter the 10 questions and 10 answers. Are you prepared? Unsystem asked. First question. Did you bully your childhood sweetheart when you were young? Often. I was young and didn't know anything. So I liked to play tricks to attract the attention of people I cared about. I had too much. Thinking about it now, I'm filled with regret. You should spend all your time on the small matter of being good to her. The system didn't like this opening, and the system had already eaten dinner. Second question. What do you usually do when a love rival appears? The only strong rival is Gu Qing Nuo. So on the basketball court, I used a handsome three-pointer shot to beat him. La 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 la. The system also feels that it's very handsome. Third question. Who is the person you hate the most in this world? Cheng Qianzi. The system also hates her. I feel that she's very bad. Fourth question. What do you regret the most? Not going to the parallel world with her. Fifth question. What do you feel is the funniest thing? Funny. Yiji Jin thought about it before saying, Ji-chun told me that he had a little assistant and told me not to steal from him, saying that he had to follow, first come, first serve. I feel that he definitely doesn't know what childhood sweethearts are. Hoo-ha. Ha. This system is dying from laughter. Sixth question. Tell me when your heart throbbed the most. My heart throbbed, there should be many times. The first throbbing was on the mountain when I carried her and could feel her soft breath on my neck. It was like I could forget all the pain. Seventh question. What do you feel is the warmest thing you've done? There are many. Pick one, pick one. To make red date flavored buns. Yiji Jean said with a faint smile. Because these buns aren't sold on the streets, I could only make them myself. At first, it was very ugly. Later on, I kept doing it and it slowly got better. This system has to say the host's taste is really strange. I think so too. The system wants to talk to the host. No. If that's the case, the system might cease to exist. Sorry, the system is still a baby. 8th question. Many people want to ask this question. She has been missing for 7 years. What made you wait endlessly? Love. His answer was concise and comprehensive, and he did not say anything else. The system inexplicably ate dog food, and it was extremely fast. 9th question. What was the most interesting thing after getting married? She likes to change the photo in my wallet every year. She changes it once a year, and there are no repeats. 10th question. Say something to her. No matter how beautiful time is, it can never be the same as the first time we met. I'm willing to accompany you from your youth to your old age. Such beautiful words. The system really envies the host. The system also wants a childhood sweetheart. Chapter 425. Bayububu, welcome back, system. She softly replied as a gentle look appeared in her eyes. Does the host want to see the situation of the world after your death? Yes/no. Yes. There was a familiar blue smoke in the bronze mirror, and the scene in front of her gradually became clear. In the long corridor of the hospital, there was no one there. Yiji Jin was lying in the bed holding a stack of photos in his hands. Each photo was of her. In that instant, her eyes couldn't help turning red. Those photos were the ones she put in his wallet every year, and there were words she wrote to him on the back of each one. It must be, he knew and saw it all. He suddenly sat up slowly from the bed and arranged the photos in his hands in a sluggish manner. One by one, he arranged them according to the date. Finally, he replaced the first photo with the one that had been in his wallet for the past 7 years. The photo had already turned yellow, and his rough hand slowly stroked it, treating it like a treasure. The bronze mirror changed, and he was silently lying in bed. There were tears in the corners of his eyes as a stack of photos was placed at the head of his bed. He muttered this sentence before slowly closing his eyes. The vital signs beside him let out a beep sound. The bronze mirror gradually blurred, and there was only a sentence left. Cruel young Miss Childhood Sweetheart, I'm going to find you, all right? All right, she silently said in front of the mirror. She took a deep breath and adjusted her mind. The following is a summary of the mission. Host, please properly look over it. Name, Luo, Qingshan World. Mr. Bamboo Horse's little childhood sweetheart. Mission completion rate, 100% experience. 500 experience points have been deducted from time and space reversal. It has been deducted from the world reward, but it still remains at 1,000. Currently, he had 2 items in his dimensional pocket, Beauty Pill and iPhone 999. Exchange points, -100. A total of 9,600 exchange points have been deducted, so you still owe 100. Oh, Luo Qingshan looked at the summary with a cold look and asked, where's the 2,000 exchange points from the last world? Ding! System error has been corrected. Exchange points, 1,900-inch broken system. She really felt like the more she did the missions, when would there be a qualitative leap? The host's 9th mission panel is below. The appearance, stamina, charm, and figure values were all very high. It seemed like the previous host status wasn't low, and it was very powerful. In the next second, the image in the bronze mirror changed. Mission grade, experience gained, 500. Exchange points gained, 5,000. Female lead, Luo Qingshan male lead. D. Luo Feng supporting female lead. Yu Ruo Shui supporting male lead. And Xiao Yu mission content. Return to 3 years before the female lead died and obtain the love of the male lead D. Luo Feng. Why does this male lead's name feel like we can play with your name and my surname? There is something to system, although it feels a bit repetitive. What is it? Because to the next world, to the next world. Luo Qingshan rolled her eyes at the system. Can't you give me this ring? Come. So, if I successfully exchange for the exquisite ring, I can use it in every plane? Including the modern world? Of course not. Then I'll borrow it indefinitely. Luo Qingshan gave 2 cold laughs, showing that it wasn't worth it. Chapter 426. Well, To put it simply, it's another story of love and wanting to kill. The 100 Beast continent was a continent filled with mystical spirit beasts. Other than spirit beasts, there were also ordinary people and beast tamers. Beast masters were divided into two factions, the North and the South. It was said that the founders of the two factions were lovers, but for some reason, not only did they separate, they even became enemies. There were only men in the Southern faction and women in the Northern faction. The male lead was the strongest beast tamer in the Southern faction, while the original host was the strongest beast tamer in the Northern faction who stole half of his limelight. Both of them were 9th-level beast tamers. In the 100 Beast continent, the two of them were hard to come by in 1,000 years. A miracle! Over the past thousands of years, only 4 Tier 9 Beastmasters had appeared on this continent, and they were the founders of the Northern and Southern factions. The supporting female lead, Yu Ruo Shui, was the only disciple of the original owner. She was quite talented, becoming a Tier 4 Beastmaster at the age of 15. However, she couldn't break through to Tier 5 no matter how hard she tried. The original host had told her that becoming a Beastmaster in this world was already a kind of opportunity. For thousands of years, there were only a few hundred Beastmasters from the Northern and Southern factions, so there was no need to pay too much attention to it. At first, Yu Ruo listened, but when she saw the supporting male lead, and Xiao Yu, she decided to become the most outstanding Beastmaster. One day, she would be able to stand beside him in a dazzling light. And Xiao Yu, the male protagonist junior from the same sect, a level 7 beast tamer. Although he was 2 levels lower than Di Luo Feng, he was already a very outstanding existence in the Imperial Beast world. However, Xiao Yu fell in love with the previous host at first sight. It was a scene in the Ink Card Forest where he had subdued the 4th-ranked divine beast of the 100 Beast continent, the Snow Phoenix. The original host held the splendid time orb and didn't have the slightest fear in front of the ferocious Snow Phoenix. Her gaze was cold. Using her powerful beast taming ability, she subdued the Blood Phoenix and made it her spiritual beast. At that time, the Southern faction only sent in Xiao Yu and missed the opportunity to subdue the spirit beast. And the supporting female, lead Yu Ruo also fell in love with Xiao Yu at that time. Although he was powerless against the Snow Phoenix, he could at least protect the others. She was the original owner's disciple, Yu Ruo. Some people gradually lost themselves in their pursuit. They lost everything, including themselves. After returning from the Ink Card Forest, Yu Ruo continuously worked hard to raise her grade. However, she never thought that no matter how hard she tried, she would not be able to level up. The original owner had told her that beast taming depended on talent, but she didn't believe it. Finally, Yu Ruo used improper means to open the Dark Beast Pavilion's door. He secretly learned the forbidden technique of the beast-taming world, bloodthirsty beast taming. Just as she was about to use this forbidden technique to raise her level to Beast Tamer level 5, Xiao Yu came to the Northern Sect and begged the Northern Sect leader to grant him a marriage, wanting to marry the original host. Naturally, Yu Ruo would not agree. She had planned everything and wanted the host to die. Beast tamers not only had the ability to tame divine beasts, but they also had certain spells. It wasn't easy to kill the original owner. She used a common secret technique she saw in the Dark Beast Pavilion to successfully create a poison. Colorless and tasteless, fed daily. Because the original owner only had her as a disciple, all of her daily needs were taken care of by Yu Ruo. She never had any compassion for her. It wasn't until the day she died from the poison that she realized what kind of person her disciple was. Unfortunately, it was all too late. After that, Yu Ruo successfully used the bloodthirsty beast subduing secret technique to rise to the 7th rank and confess to Xiao Yu. Finally, Xiao Yu agreed to Yu Ruo's request. Chapter 427. Now everything had gone back to 3 years ago, when she had just subdued the Snow Phoenix. Everything could be restarted. But in the memories of the previous host, there wasn't a male lead called Di Luo Feng. There was no one else. She stood on the Jade Pavilion, and her eyes fell onto Yu Ruo, who was cultivating not far away. Yu Ruo Shui was quite beautiful, with her hair combed into a bun. She was wearing a water-green brocade robe, looking very refined. However, she should have already fallen in love with Xiaoyu at first sight. Or rather, she should have already opened the door to the Dark Beast Pavilion. "Master, you're up." Yu Ruo Shui smiled and came forward. Luo Qingshun gave a slight nod. She looked at her with cold eyes and said, "I've found that your Imperial Bee skills have improved recently." Yu Ruo Shui's eyes filled with panic before she grabbed her hand and said in a spoiled manner, "Isn't it because Master taught me well? Many people envy Ruo Shui for having such a powerful master." "Is that so?" Luo Qingshun gave a soft laugh. She looked at her and said, "I'm going to the Southern Sect Celestial Hall tomorrow. Do you want to come?" There was a sparkle in her eyes as she looked at Luo Qingshun and said, "I want it. I want it. Wherever Master goes, I'll go." "Why are you this excited?" Luo Qingshun raised a brow. She looked up with a teasing look in her eyes. Since Yu Ruo Shui had already learned the bloodthirsty beast subduing technique, she must have turned dark. No, perhaps it should be said that she was a very scheming person. Facing this kind of supporting female lead who wasn't completely against you, was it really a bit interesting? Directly slapping her face wasn't good. Gradually slapping her face was the best plan. "Cuckoo." Yu Ruo Shui cleared her throat and said, "Ruo Shui has been in the Jade Pavilion for too long, so I'm a bit bored." Her expression and tone were all on point, so Luo Qingshun, as the host, couldn't see any flaws at all. "Uh-huh." She snorted, flicked her sleeves, and walked in another direction. Leaving behind a flustered Yu Ruo Shui, she couldn't help but mutter in her heart, "Could it be that she knows?" Back in her room, Luo Qingshun lay on the big bed. While playing with the chicken on the bed, she began to have a mechanical conversation with the boring system. The male lead's favorability towards the original host? -10%. She squeezed the chicken in her hand hard, and her expression was stiff. She only saw the little chicken spirit pet cry out in pain before she let it go. "Are you kidding me? You said that I can accept 0%, but why is it negative?" "Because in this 100 Beast continent, the original owner took half of his light. It became a stumbling block for him to claim the title of the strongest 9th-level beast tamer." "He's my stumbling block. Oh my god, how infuriating. If he had the ability, why didn't he ascend to the 10th order?" Luo Qingshun angrily threw the chicken soul pet to the ground and closed her eyes to have a good sleep. The next morning, as soon as Luo Qingshun opened the door, she saw Yu Ruo Shui waiting outside. It seemed that she was really anxious and couldn't wait to see her sweetheart. She chewed and swallowed her breakfast slowly, making Yu Ruo Shui wait for a full 3 hours before she started the journey. Due to the long journey to the Celestial Palace, Yu Ruo Shui's magic wasn't very good. Luo Qingshun didn't want to take her, so she could only walk. She was relatively relaxed, but Yu Ruo Shui couldn't do it. Chapter 428. "I've been in a bad mood recently, so I can't fly." Luo Qingshun didn't soften her heart at all, looking at her coldly. Whenever she thought of how the original owner ate poison for 3 whole years and died in the end, she felt uncomfortable in her heart. She still wanted her to fly? Dream on. Aya. Yu Ruo Shui looked at her with her large watery eyes and said, "Who made Master unhappy? Ruo Shui will help you beat them up." "Ayaya. Can you not be like this? Do you have to be so fake?" Suddenly, a miserable cry rang out from the noisy market. Luo Qingshun knitted her brows and hurriedly rushed over. The moment she arrived at the scene of the incident, her eyes widened in shock. A huge black bear spirit was standing in the middle of the street, biting a person's hand in its mouth with a ferocious expression. "Heavens, Master! It's the spiritual beast Black Bear." Yu Ruo Shui retreated 2 steps in fear, finding a place to hide herself. She was only a Tier 4 Beastmaster now. She couldn't possibly tame a high-tier giant beast. "Tsk tisk." Luo Qingshun snorted coldly, a trace of disdain in her eyes. Such a lousy disciple. Why did the original owner keep her by her side? Not only did she eat and drink for free, Her heart was so vicious and pretentious. She couldn't even compare to the little chick on her bed, all right? In the next second, Luo Qingshun waved her right hand, and the splendid flashy orb lit up, leaping into the sky. In an instant, a green light flashed in front of her eyes, and a youth in green clothes appeared in the air. The person in front of her had an incomparably powerful aura. His chiseled features were exquisite, and his skin was as white as snow. His beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, carrying a bewitching appearance that was extremely doting on. In his hand was an orb that had the same effect as hers, except his was shining with a green light. In an instant, that green light suddenly expanded, attacking the black bear's spirit. This was the first time she wanted to show off her might in this plane. What was she going to do about this? No, definitely not. She waved her right hand, and the splendid flashy orb shone with layers of white light, attacking the green light. Bang! In the next second, the two rays of light violently collided in the air. The black bear beast was shaken by this powerful spell. Its jaws loosened, and the person that was originally in its mouth fell down. In an instant, the green light and the white light flew towards the direction of the person falling from the sky and caught him firmly. Wow! The black bear beast roared at the sky. Looking at the two people in the air, its eyes were burning with raging flames. Upon seeing this, Luo Qingqin's splendid Xiaohua orb shone with a white light. She activated her familiar power in an instant and tamed the black bear beast. Little did she know that the green light was faintly converging and forcibly interrupting her beast-subduing power. Damn, was this guy trying to stir up trouble? In an instant, Luo Qingshun raised her phoenix eyes and waved her right hand. The exquisite ring on her hand shone with golden light. While the green light and white light were fighting in the air, he took advantage of the chaos and knocked down the black bear beast. To her, a Tier 9 Beastmaster with the exquisite ring, the black bear before her was simply too weak to withstand a single blow. In the next second, the green light was stunned, and the white light took this chance to tightly surround the black bear beast. A few seconds later, the black bear beast submitted to the white light, slowly becoming smaller, and finally becoming as big as a palm. Luo Qingshun gave a proud snort. She looked at the young man with a bewitching appearance beside her and said, "Thank you for letting me win. Ding, affection has decreased by 10. Mission completion rate is minus 20%. System notice. The other side is the male lead." Chapter 429. I'm most afraid of suddenly being silent. #DLuo phone. Senior brother, why are you walking so fast? And Xiao Yu caught up. He was wearing a set of white clothes and had a faint mole at the corner of his eye, giving him an extraordinary aura. Yu Ruo Shui's figure was obviously startled, and a faint light flashed in her eyes. She wanted to go forward, but she didn't dare. Luo Feng softly replied before his eyes fell onto Luo Qingshun. The girl in front of him looked to be around 17-18 years old. Her eyes were clear, and the imperial beast bead in her hand was glowing white. He didn't dare believe that this girl was a 9th-grade imperial beastmaster. "Miss Luo." And Xiao Yu immediately came forward with a smile and looked at her. "We meet again." Luo Qingshun softly replied. She looked at Luo Feng without a trace of fear. And Xiao Yu scratched his head and looked at the two youngest 9th-grade Imperial Beastmasters of the 100 Beast Continent with an awkward look. "Why do you feel like there's a strong smell of gunpowder?" "How could that be?" Luo Qingshun said with a soft laugh. "Luo Feng, I've long heard of your name." "I don't dare." Luo Feng looked up with sparkling eyes. He looked at Luo Qingshun and said, "It's a pleasure to meet you." There was a faint smile on his lips as he looked at her seriously. If it wasn't for the affection dropping to -20, she would have thought that Luo Feng had fallen in love with her at first sight. Because his eyes were very good looking, but with these layers of light, it was like his dark pupils reflected the light of the stars, looking calm and gentle. When she was in her own world, there was a flash of golden light above her head. Golden swallow. Luo Qingshun looked up, and the golden swallow had already placed a letter in her hand. The one who wrote the letter was her master. It was the current sect master of the Jade Pavilion, Dugawanyu. The third divine beast, Shue has appeared. Quickly head to Other Shore Village. The southern faction's people should have already set off. She slightly knit her brows, and with a flash of white light in her right hand, the paper in her hand turned to ashes. It seems like Sect Master Dugu has already been notified. Di Luofeng was very smart. With a slight look, he could see the clues from her face. Luo Qingshan nodded with a bit of worry. In the memories of the previous owner's memories, when she was subduing the fourth divine beast Shue, she almost lost her life. Now it's the third-ranked Shue. She's really a little. What's wrong with the host? Negative 20% favorability will accompany you bravely forward. If you're fine, can you not talk? Don't worry. Di Luofeng gave a soft laugh. He looked at Xiaoyu behind him and said, "My master dared to let my junior brother go as a 7th-grade Imperial Beastmaster, so it shouldn't be too dangerous." Unhumph, Luo Qingchun helplessly shook her head. "Did you ask your junior brother what contribution he made when he subdued the Snow Phoenix in the Ink Card Forest?" After that, there was the smell of gunpowder in the air, and Xiaoyu seemed to remember the scene from back then as his expression changed. He looked at Di Luofeng and said, "Senior brother, that Shue was too fierce. I almost couldn't return to your side with a single breath of fire. If it really is like this, I should thank that divine beast." Di Luofeng's eyes lit up, and he had a faint smile on his lips. After that, with a flash of azure light, he flew off on his sword, heading in the direction of Other Shore Village. Luo Qingshan's expression changed, and she quickly chased after him. "Master." Yu Ruo Shui watched Luo Qingshan disappear, and her face filled with surprise. Chapter 430. And Xiaoyu was stunned as he froze on the spot. He thought, "Who is this person? Why is she pulling me as soon as she comes up?" No wonder senior brother always said that the northern sex women shouldn't be provoked. She was trouble. Of course, a 9th-grade Imperial Beastmaster was different. "Stop, stop, stop." And Xiaoyu pushed her hand away and said, "This miss, do we know each other?" Yu Ruo Shui was a bit surprised. She looked at him with a bit of sadness and said, "Young master and saved me in the Ink Card Forest." "Oh." And Xiaoyu thought about it before suddenly saying, "You are Miss Luo's disciple." When he said the first half, Yu Ruo Shui had an expectant look on her face. When he said the second half, Yu Ruo Shui's face froze. She was called Yu Ruo Shui. Why was it that the person she cared about only remembered that she was Luo Qingshan's disciple? I'm called Yu Ruo Shui." She lowered her head in disappointment as her eyes filled with grievance and a bit of hatred. "Oh, hello, hello." And Xiaoyu gave a half-hearted nod. There was a flash of blue light in his hand as he said, "We'll meet again." After saying this, there was a flash of blue light, and he disappeared without a trace. Actually, and Xiaoyu was a bit angry. His flying sword technique was worse than his senior brother's, so he had to go all out to catch up. Now, because of some random person, he had wasted this much time. Other Shore Village. Di Luofeng moved very quickly, so fast that Luo Qingshan had to chase after him to barely keep up. "You really are a 9th-grade Imperial Beastmaster. Your magic skills aren't bad." A look of admiration flashed in Di Luofeng's eyes. After all, in order to increase the distance between them, he had used all his strength in his flying sword technique. "Many thanks for the praise." She knit her brows as she looked around, but the situation here is worse than I imagined. The 3 words Other Shore Village at the entrance were crumbling, and there wasn't a single person on the street leading to the village. The surroundings were silent as cold winds blew past. The Snow Cheelant's greatest ability isn't its strength as a spirit beast, but rather its ability to create dream realms. Di Luofeng knit his brows. The azure ink orb in his hand released a faint azure light as he walked forward. Luo Qingshan heard this and followed Di Luofeng. When they arrived at the market in the village, their expressions changed. The entire street was filled with people. Their eyes were lifeless, and there was a faint smile on their lips as they walked back and forth aimlessly. "They are all in a dream, right?" Luo Qingshan narrowed her eyes. her expression grave. Yes. Di Luo Feng gave a slight nod. Xueqilin already controls Other Shore Village. What is her goal? What does she want to do? Can you break its dreamland enchantment and wake up the villagers? Luo Qingshun pursed her lips slightly and asked, Miss Luo. He smiled faintly. Looking into her eyes, he said, We are both beastmasters. What you don't know, I naturally don't know either. This was a topic that couldn't be easily ended. So why did he have to say so many words? As the only male 9th grade Imperial Beastmaster on the 100 Beast continent, couldn't he be a bit more aloof? Then we can only destroy this place and make it appear. Luo Qingshun looked up, and the splendid flashy orb in her hand released a faint white light. She was planning on using violence to solve this problem. Don't. Di Luo Feng's slender fingers softly pressed down on her orb, accidentally touching her fingertips. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now minus 10%. Chapter 431. Di Luo Feng took back his hand in a panic. He looked up and cleared his throat. It isn't impossible to break the Snow Qilin's dream. It's easy to hurt the innocent, and if it doesn't come out, we can't do anything. She looked at him pretending to be calm and couldn't help finding it amusing. If it wasn't for the increase in affection, she really wouldn't have known that Di Luo Feng was pretending to be calm. So, she said, You have another way? Isn't there an ancient saying, How can one catch a tiger cub without entering the tiger's den? You want to enter the dream realm barrier it created? Luo Qingshun was surprised. If they entered the Snow Qilin's barrier, it would become the dominant position and weave their dreams. If they couldn't wake up, there would be no 9th rank Imperial Beast Masters in this world. My heart has no desires, so I don't fear the dream realm. His eyes lit up as he looked at her. If I can break its barrier and break out of the dream realm, the 100 Beast Continent's 3rd divine beast will be my spirit pet. In this life, he had everything he wanted, everything he wanted, everything he wanted. Perhaps there was nothing in this world that could make him infatuated. Humph! Luo Qingshun pursed her lips and said with a proud snort, Who knows who will come out of the dream realm first? If this is Miss Luo's declaration of war. He raised his eyes slightly, and a faint smile appeared on his enchanting face as he looked at her and said, I accept the challenge. Since the other side had already said this, if she was timid, wouldn't it be an insult to the 9th rank Imperial Beast Master title? The transfer point in front should be the so-called Other Shore Forgotten River. You can enter the dream realm barrier set up by the Snow Qilin if you walk over. She said, Come. After saying this, she walked forward. Di Luo Feng revealed a different look in his eyes. He gently waved his right hand, and blue light flickered at the corner of her dress before disappearing. Luo Qingshun stood in front of the transfer point and watched the blue light. It would be a lie if she said she wasn't worried. After entering the Other Shore Forgotten River, the two of them no longer have any memories. All the stories are plots created by Xueqilin for only one purpose. Let them indulge in it and never wake up. In this world, if even the two of them can't tame Xueqilin, then all the mortals and even beast tamers on the 100 Beast Continent will have to stay in the dream it created forever. She and Di Luo Feng moved forward at the same time, standing at the transfer point. The river of forgetfulness on the other shore, past and present life. At the beginning of the dream, the night cherry blossoms were like a song. The big red bridal sedan slowly shuttled through the streets of Jingdu. With the beating of gongs and drums, the place was bustling with activity. Sitting in the palanquin was the first beauty of the capital, Luo Qingshun. In order to pay off the debts of the underground gambling house, Luo Qingshun's father married his 16-year-old daughter to a 60-year-old Tai Fu. However, the Luo family's young miss only liked the hunter Di Luo Feng from the Other Shore Village, vowing to become his wife. Unfortunately, the heavens were not on her side. She was forced to marry the dying Tai Fu, only for the sake of a concubine. But what no one thought was that while the bridal sedan was still on the road, the Tai Fu had already died in bed. There was a cold wind in the sky, and everyone revealed looks of fear as they fled in all directions. The girl in the large red bridal sedan slowly opened the curtain. What came into view was a handsome face. His thin lips were slightly pursed, and there was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. Chapter 432. Di Luo Feng brought Luo Qingchen back to Othershore Village, and the two of them lived the happy life of a man-hunting woman. Over the past few years, they had been stuck together like glue and were very loving. Big brother Luo Feng, you're back. Luo Qingchen brought out the steaming dishes while looking at him with a gentle smile. You're being naughty again. Be good, call me husband. Di Luo Feng came in through the door with a furry rabbit in his hand. He looked at her with a pampering gaze as he said, I caught a rabbit today. Let's eat something good tonight. What a cute rabbit. It would be a pity to eat it. Why don't you raise it as a pet? There was a faint gentleness in Luo Qingchen's eyes, but when she said this, her expression changed slightly. Di Luo Feng in front of her was also surprised, feeling that something was off. If Qing likes it, we can raise it. Di Luo Feng revealed a faint smile as he looked at her with a pampering gaze. That night, she carefully pulled out the arrow from the rabbit's leg and wrapped it up. The little rabbit was very cute. It blinked twice before lying down beside her. You're not asleep yet. Di Luo Feng softly put his cloak over her shoulder as he said in a caring voice, Rest early, don't tire yourself out. Luo Qingchen revealed a faint smile and leaned her head on his shoulder as she said, These years, has big brother Luo Feng been happy? Happy? I'm happy wherever you are. Di Luo Feng stroked her hair as his eyes filled with gentleness. After that, the little rabbit suddenly stood up. Seeing the hem of Luo Qingchen's dress, its ears perked up. There was a faint azure glow coming from the hem of the dress that was very bright. Di Luo Feng was stunned and tightly knit his brows. After a few seconds, he looked at Luo Qingchen and said, Qing, do you still remember how many years we've been married? How could big brother Luo Feng not even remember this? She looked at his face and said with a faint smile, Already. But after that, she found that she couldn't say anything. A few years she couldn't remember. Qing, do you still remember what we ate yesterday? Di Luo Feng's calm eyes were filled with a faint glow. Ate. Her gaze was stunned as she looked into his eyes. Her pink lips slightly pursed as she said, Why is it like this? Why? Everything seems to be going well, but I can't remember the details. Could it be that we are dreaming? Right, we're dreaming. Di Luo Feng's eyes lit up, and his blue eyes had a charming glow to them. In just an instant, his aura was incomparably powerful. Bang! In the next second, the dreamland shattered. Everything around them returned to normal. The two of them stood in the center of the other shore forgotten river, with the god beast Xue Qilin standing in front of them. Di Luo Feng first looked at her with a complicated look in his eyes that couldn't be described. He only felt that there was something stirring in the depths of his heart, stirring up a sense of anticipation that he had never felt before. Ding! Affection has increased by 10. Mission completion rate is now 0%. Luo Qingchen only felt that the moment the system's voice rang out in her mind, she suddenly became fully awake. The dreamland created by the Xue Qilin really made people immersed in it. It seemed like Di Luo Feng was quite powerful, being able to see through it. What are you looking at? Why aren't you subduing your god beast yet? Di Luo Feng's indifferent voice sounded in her ears. She was stunned and didn't know what to do. Since the dreamland created by the Xue Qilin was broken, it was currently very weak. As long as it was an Imperial Beastmaster of the 7th grade or above, they could subdue it. Chapter 433. Luo Qingchen raised her eyebrows. The splendid flashy orb in her hand lit up, and there was a faint smile on her face. Since Di Luo Feng wanted to give it to her, there was no need to refuse. Ayo! Although the Xue Qilin knew that the dream realm was broken and her true body was revealed, she had no way out. But she still gave a meaningful howl. After all, she was the third divine beast with a vigorous aura. Then, white light lingered around her, and Luo Qingchen jumped into the air and released her imperial beast power. In an instant, white light appeared around her. Only when the word Qing appeared on the Shueqian's forehead did she curl up into a ball and lose all her hostility. After subduing the Shueqian, the people who were pacing back and forth on the street instantly came back to their senses and looked stunned. It was like the sky had been opened, revealing a blue color. It's finally over. Luo Qingshan looked at the Shueqian beside her, who was 3 heads taller than her, and then her eyes fell on a Di Luo Feng. Let's part ways here. No matter what, she had to get the Shueqian back first before coming out. Di Luo Feng's voice was a bit hesitant. He looked up and saw the golden swallow flying over not far away, and his lips curled into a faint smile. I'm afraid it won't be as you wish. In the next second, the golden swallow placed a piece of paper in her hand. Opening it, it was still Dugu Wanyue's handwriting. The second divine beast Shui can has appeared. Master knows that you have tamed the Shueqian. Quickly head to the insect Cry City, Jadewood County. Walking out of the other shore village, they bumped into an Xiaoyu who was rushing over, followed by a panting Yurua Shui. Yurua Shui's face was very bad, looking like she would faint at any second. You just arrived? And Xiaoyu was panting. He looked at Luo Qingshan with a gentle look in his eyes. I can help. Before his voice fell, Luo Qingshan pointed to the Shueqian lying lazily behind her. Over here. You guys are done. And Xiaoyu said with a defeated face, I feel like I didn't participate in anything. Di Luo Feng gave a soft laugh before looking at Luo Qingshan and saying, You're not putting it in your spirit pet bag? I came in a hurry. I didn't bring it. Luo Qingshan looked a little embarrassed. Shueqian next to her seemed to have sensed her master's state of mind and rolled on the ground cutely. I'll lend you mine. He handed the spirit pet pouch in his hand to her. The spirit pet pouch will follow its owner. Don't use it for too long. If you use it for too long, will my Qilin follow you? I won't. His gaze was slightly warm as he said, but I don't have many bags and I don't want to make them. If you return what you borrowed, it won't be difficult to borrow again. All right. She took the spirit pet pouch, and white light revolved around her hand. Shueqian yawned and jumped into the bag with a thump. In the next second, and Xiaoyu froze. He looked at Di Luo Feng in disbelief and said, Didn't you never lend your spirit pet pouch to others? Is that so? His eyes narrowed as he said, I should be saying that I don't lend men. Luo Qingshan looked at the sky before looking at Di Luo Feng and saying, Are we leaving now or tomorrow? Of course it's tomorrow. You think it's tomorrow. Yu Ruo Shui and Xiaoyu said at the same time. The former didn't forget to roll her eyes and say, Master, you don't need to be in a rush. The divine beast won't run away. Indeed. Luo Qingshan narrowed her cold eyes and looked at Yu Ruo Shui, so you don't need to go. Master, Yu Ruo Shui gritted her teeth as a look of anger flashed at her eyes. After that, Luo Qingshan looked at Di Luo Feng and said, Shall we set off now? All right. There was a faint gentleness in his eyes, and it was like an unknown warm wind had blown through his heart, making him feel relaxed. Chapter 434. Outside the other shore village, 2 streaks of green and white light disappeared. In an instant, and Xiaoyu gritted his teeth and his right hand glowed as he chased after them. He left behind a stunned Yu Ruo Shui. She secretly swore that she would definitely become stronger. She would definitely make all those who looked down on her and bullied her sign up. After that, there was a trace of darkness that flashed in her eyes. The power of bloodthirst vaguely erupted. On the way, Luo Qingshan and Di Luo Feng kept chatting. They talked about the grudges between the North and South, as well as the experts of the Imperial Beast Master world. You became a 9th grade Imperial Beast Master an entire year before me. Di Luo Feng's eyes had a deep look as he looked at Luo Qingshan beside him and said, Before you became a 9th grade Imperial Beast Master, I always thought that other than the ancestors of the 2 sects, I would be the first one to break through. But he never thought that a girl would ruin all his life plans. Moreover, that girl was younger than him. He vaguely remembered the day she became a 9th grade Imperial Beast Master. The night that was as dark as ink suddenly became bright. Everyone in the Imperial Beast Master world woke up and felt proud of her. because she had created the first miracle in thousands of years. The next year, when he became a ninth-grade Imperial Beastmaster, although everyone was surprised, they couldn't compare to when she broke through. After all, people would only remember the first and not the second. He was jealous of her. So, I became a stumbling block on your glorious path? Luo Qingshun gave a soft laugh as a faint smile appeared on her face. She suddenly felt that this youth with such powerful Imperial Beastmaster skills was quite strong in certain aspects. He softly replied before looking down and saying, "We're here. Jadewood County, a paradise for birds and insects." The surroundings were very quiet, like everyone had fallen asleep. Luo Qingshun looked up and asked, "Have you seen the snow silkworm before?" "I haven't," Di Luo Feng softly said. "After the snow phoenix was tamed by you, it shouldn't have disturbed the three divine beasts. But after that, someone opened the door of the Dark Beast Pavilion and used an improper method to obtain the bloodthirsty power." "Yes, I know." She nodded. The original owner remembered this matter. "You know?" A confused look flashed in Di Luo Feng's eyes as he said, "My master went to the beast punishing platform and personally entered the Dark Beast Pavilion to learn of this matter. How did you know?" Luo Qingshun was stunned. She felt like she was about to be exposed. She blinked her eyes and said, "I have a powerful foresight ability." Di Luo Feng helplessly shook his head. "It really is hard to believe." "You don't believe me?" Her eyebrows moved slightly as she said, "Not only do I know that someone opened the door to the Dark Beast Pavilion, I also know who that person is." Di Luo Feng looked in her eyes and was a bit surprised. His eyes were clear, and no impurities could be seen in them. Did she really know? For a long time, the air was silent. There was a flash of azure light in Di Luo Feng's hand as he looked at Luo Qingshun and said, "I feel that this snow silkworm isn't simple." "Of course," she said with a shrug, "since it's the second divine beast, it definitely can create dreams better than that one." After saying this, she felt her cheeks become a bit hot, and she didn't say anything else. Di Luo Feng seemed to have sensed something as his eyes gradually became more gentle. That dream, he and she were both a bit addicted. No, it should be said that they were very addicted. When he learned that it was just a dream, he was actually a bit disappointed